Good morning. This is the news wire. I'm Lea Ubaga. Academic activities at public universities may be disrupted if the government does not address the demands of lecturers within the next 7 days, which the deadline is marked by Wednesday next week. OASU Secretary General Constantine Wasonga says the government has failed to pay about 3.27 billion shillings of CBA, a situation that threatens to disrupt education across public universities.
We are issuing a 7-day strike notice over failure by the government to implement 2021-2025 Phase 2 CBA arrears for the financial year 2025-2026. totaling to 2.73 billion. The second reason why our members will go out next week.
Wasonga has criticized the government, claiming that it has been playing tricks on them instead of solving the issues facing lecturers and university staff in the country.
The third reason why we are going on strike is failure by IPC, by the government, to implement the 2017-2021 CBA as per the Employment and Labour Relations Court judgment in Nairobi in LREC CBA number 1 of 2020, CBA number 2 of 2020, and CBA number 3 of 2020.
Health practitioners have been warned against diverting patients from public hospitals to private clinics, a practice that has reportedly left many Kenyans paying twice for care they should receive at county facilities. Council of Governors Health Committee Chair Muthomi Njuki said the trend is becoming widespread, with some doctors using public hospitals to build patient lists before sending them to their private facilities for profit. Speaking during a surprise visit to Chuka Level 5 Hospital, Njuki said he found doctors absent from duty and warned that disciplinary action would be taken.
But it has become so uncontrolled and so bad that they spend only an eighth of their time here in the hospitals, and the rest of the time, which is 7 or 8, is spent in their private practice. Yet you're paid non-practicing allowance. We even pay 3 years allowance. And when a doctor is on call, they are also paid emergency allowance for coming to attend to our patients. So our hospitals have almost become ghost because of this referral system. And I want to tell the people who are listening to me of Tharaka-Nithi, we are putting measures in place, and I want a system put in place so that our people know where to complain. If a doctor refers you to their clinic and you go and find out that the same doctor was seeing you here, sent you there, within confidentiality, you need to report that doctor.
Conservative activists, that is in the international scene, and close President Donald Trump's ally Charlie Kirk has died after being shot during a speaking engagement at Utah Valley University on Wednesday. Kirk was addressing students as a part of his American comeback tour when a single gunshot rang out at 12:20 p.m. local time. A video circulating online shows him sitting under a white gazebo responding to a question about mass shootings. When he was struck in the neck, he immediately collapsed as blood became visible on his shirt. The crowd screamed in panic, rushing for safety as security scrambled to his aid. Police later confirmed that a suspect is in custody and that the shot was fired from about 200 yards away. That's the news wire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody is human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, staki kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit.
They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody is human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, staki kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how
conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk.
Statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations.
Position has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of
change. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Hello. Good morning. Am I here? Yes, there we are. Very, 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 very good morning to you. Imagine a whole 15 minutes after 6 o'clock, but we're here. How are you?
It's not easy, but by God's grace.
You're fine?
I am just a bit tired.
You're tired?
But, I feel like I slept here. I was just here a few hours ago.
Go and here you are again.
But I'm good. God is good.
Amen. No.
Yeah, all the time. And all the time.
God is good. For whatever you're going through this morning, imagine it'll be fine. It'll be worked out.
Yes.
One of my favorite songs of recent. Let me just do it this morning because it's been on my mind for a minute. And I think it was done by Maverick.
Oh.
Yeah. First of all, God will work it out. God will work it out. One thing I've found, one thing I'm sure, my God will work it out.
Wow. Bless you. Bless you.
Amen.
Bless you. Yeah. Blessings.
Whatever it is this morning.
Why are you not in church?
At this moment?
Yeah. No, at this moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Why are you wasting the voice?
Regularly. But if Pastor Tim hears you, in fact, if Pastor Tim is listening this morning,
Who's Pastor Tim?
He's one of the pastors, one of the zonal pastors.
Okay.
If he's listening this morning, he would have said, I've been telling this girl to come. She has been wasting time.
The Lord is speaking.
Well,
will you listen?
If I listen. Whatever it is that you're going through this morning,
yeah,
it will be okay.
Yes, it will. Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah.
It'll be okay, imagine. And I thought about this yesterday and I thought, imagine when you are in situations, Dennis, and you feel as though the world is coming to an end. It is falling apart.
Yes.
Imagine you're here today, that you've gotten through the worst of your yesterdays. The worst, where you thought that it would never end, it would not come to an end, and the world was dark, it was darkening, and everything was bad. You're here today. So really, the worst of it, you've been through it, and you'll then be able to make it through. So that's my word of encouragement this Thursday. So here we are today. Good morning, everybody.
Yep.
You'll get through it, and really.
So, yesterday, before we even go any further, you were here. And, wait, you're suspecting whether you're here or not. What's that look?
I was actually here, yeah.
I'm just being dramatic.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So you are here, and you told us to remind you of a story of the rooster.
It's not even a story, it is a reality.
Okay, what is
a
this?
living experience.
What is this?
So,
you say I'm taking a back seat. I'm ready to listen to this.
Where I live.
Let me hear whether I can relate, okay?
You would expect that it's folks with, the little dogs that have been clipped and manicured and they have a bow over on one ear. One morning, like not even at 6 o'clock, at like 3:20 in the morning, I hear this sound that can only be likened to a barnyard. So I said, what's going on here? Am I dreaming? Because I know my dreams can be really intense. But this one is not supposed to be the case. I'm supposed to be hearing this sound if I was in my village or somewhere up country.
Okay.
So I went back to sleep and I thought, no, I've heard it again. So I woke up and I went about the day as normal, like nothing was going on. Upon arrival at my abode later on in the day, what did I see? A black rooster sitting atop the fence at 3 now in the afternoon, crowing its life away. First of all, our rooster's not supposed to just crow in the morning.
No, there's something to do in not afternoon, evening.
This thing has been brought from wherever it has been brought from.
Whoever
the neighbor brought, or whoever brought this rooster brought it from the village. Now, in my experience, when you bring such animals from up country, are you not supposed to use them for a meal?
The Diary of a City Girl.
Is it not supposed to be for eating?
Yes.
Are you not supposed to eat it?
Yes. It could be a pet for the kids.
It is a chicken.
Yes.
It has been domesticated for food use.
And the children who take...
It is not a pet.
Yes, it is.
This thing now, the thing knows me. Because like over the weekend, it will now...
The rooster now knows you.
Yes, it does. You know why? Because I chase it with a mop. It comes and perches on the fence.
On your fence.
And you can actually see it. You know how they gear up?
Like they're about to take off.
The thing just stands and then it starts doing its...
And it's black.
Yes. it just stands where it stands directly facing my kid's room, and it just now arranges itself. It wants to crow. The day I rained upon this thing with a mop, then it starts clucking its way away. It knows me. This thing now, it waits, and I don't even need an alarm anymore. 3:21, like clockwork. That's why I'm convinced, as you say, I don't think this thing is a rooster. 3:21, I thought it was a joke. 3:21, it crowed the first day. 3:22 the next day. The next day, 3:21. This thing, Dennis, has been crowing for the last week at 3:20.
And it's not becoming a meal. Maybe you're not dealing with a rooster. When you're chasing it with a mop, did it turn back? Did it give you a look?
It did. It was clocking its way away.
Because either it speaks to you or it gives you the look.
It is not supposed to be there. This thing, that's why it ran away.
What do you mean it's not supposed to be there?
What do you mean?
It belongs to someone there.
It should go to the person's house and crow and wake them up.
No, it's being drawn to your place for whatever reason.
Excuse me.
Ask God, what's the sign? Speak to me, Lord.
Lord,
I'm here.
Thou hast prepared a table before me.
In the presence of your enemies. A meal has come to your door and you're asking,
and
what
I'm
is
asking,
this?
What is this? You know, when he said the Lord will provide, and then Abraham looked and there was the ram in the thicket. Maybe that when I'm broke.
When's the last time you had chicken?
That's a good question. Can you
When was the last time you had chicken?
Maybe God is actually telling me something.
Yeah.
That's 3:21.
Yeah.
It was around the time that Samuel.
Or the chicken could mean something. Maybe somebody can interpret that for us this morning. A chicken moving from a neighbor's gate
to come and crow in my
to
house.
your gate. Not once, not twice.
3:20 in the
But
morning.
comes to your... Yes. What could it mean?
Please tell us, because I don't understand.
Is it the one with feathers on the neck? You know there are two. The loudest one is the ones that don't have feathers.
The bald neck. No, not
Yes.
this one. This one is full dressed.
Yeah.
Everything. Black.
You are lucky. It was not the bald one.
Those ones are demonic.
No, not demonic. They are loud.
They're loud.
Those ones with no feathers. Then oh my God. And then small-bodied. Loud.
Loud something. Can you imagine?
This story is very familiar. I've had that in my neighborhood. Gosh, my neighbor will kill me.
Your neighbor brought chicken from the village and never took it back.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, a lot of people in urban settings, either you've gone to Shago, Meleta Kuku, it's just for a meal, maybe for that evening, or day 2 or day 3. The thing is this. With kids nowadays, they say you don't want to slaughter a chicken in front of your kids because a lot of kids will take this as everything is a pet nowadays. A snail can be a pet. A cat is a pet. Dog is a pet. One day I was living in an apartment. I decided what? My mother-in-law gifted me with a chicken. You know, you go to the village, mothers are so lovely. So I got it, put it in the car, came with it to Nairobi. So it was in the laundry area because now where do you put it? You know. So one day we've gone out. I come in the evening, the chicken is not there.
Bas.
The doors are locked. So I kept thinking, what just happened here? But it went through a grill.
Bas.
So in the WhatsApp group, all the neighbors are asking,
whose chicken?
I've just seen a chicken roaming downstairs around the parking area. Whose chicken is this? I was in a neighborhood that was not familiar to those kind of things. So I launched all my people and I said, guys, we're going to look for this chicken.
Can you imagine?
Under the vehicles. We were running all over the place to try and catch it. Finally, we got it. But we didn't slaughter it.
Why?
You know, there's something. This is very interesting. Wait. They say the sweetest chicken is the one that has no food in its stomach.
So
this is not a
starve
proverb.
it.
So you starve it. If you feed it, then you ginger it and then you eat it.
It won't be sweet.
It will not be sweet. But when you starve it, make sure you've emptied everything from there's nothing. Then slaughter it. That meat will taste different.
In fact, you see, I actually have a plan. I'm going to talk to the caretaker. We capture this thing.
You will not talk to the owner?
We kidnap, or is it not? Chicken nap it.
Maybe the owner is listening to the show this morning. And
We
listen
chicken
to.
nap.
Oh, the chicken is listening to you. There's this plan.
Oh, it's here.
Yeah, there's a plan you have.
We chicken nap it and starve the thing and eat. I'm a sensitive person, emotional, all those things. But for this thing, for eating meat and chicken and say, oh no, somebody's bad, never. Kill it, eat it.
But it's coming to your gate.
I don't feel those things. Nah. Can you imagine that's where we are this morning?
Chicken gate stories.
Chicken. Hey, that's where we are. I'm telling you.
Oh,
Evie, how are you this morning? Bas, if he has given a thumbs up so we can go. That's the life of, it's
remember in Swahili it's called kukushingo.
Kukushingo.
The one with no
feathers on the neck.
Tuna uto tukuku tuna kelele.
I'll look for it.
Yes.
Imagine that's how our mornings have started. So you don't have to worry about whether I wake up. I tell you, Chicken Nap Chronicles, they are coming up. It's good to have you guys in the room this morning. It's 26 minutes past 6 o'clock. And here we are getting into the Situation Room this Thursday. It is Justice Thursday. And we'll just let you know some of the conversations that we shall have today. Sawa. Mm-hmm. All right. Getting off into it. If I can just organize myself. Now, the thing that happened to you yesterday has happened to me. The light at the end of the tunnel has been put out, but here it is again. All right. Let's get into conversations that we will be having today. We'll start off at 7 o'clock with Dr. Stephen Gashie, who is an economist, and Justina Wamai, you know her. She is a champion for economic democracy. Spending for progress or piling on debt. We know that constitutionally you borrow for development in Kenya at least, and you borrow in the short term to make up a budget deficit, but not more than 90 days. Can we see that the borrowing that we're looking at now, 12 trillion shillings that Kenya's in debt for, has equated to development? That's the conversation that we will have at 7 o'clock. Wageshi Wahome is a lawyer, a law tech expert. I'm just skipping to 9 o'clock now. A law tech expert. And you ask, what's that? Well, we'll know all about that, because we're starting with who owns the idea: startups, innovation, and intellectual property. You know how many times you put together a proposal, you have an idea, you send it off to somebody, and then they don't hire you.
Yes.
And then after some time, you see your idea on TV, or somebody has run with it. What should you actually do?
It has happened to me, by the way.
Isn't it?
When I was in college.
Wow. You'll tell us your story at 9. So how can you actually protect your ideas even as you go ahead? And then in the middle of all of that, Eunice Nganga Salisbury is an advocate of the High Court. Polly Gathoni is the vice chair of the Media Complaints Commission. Media freedom versus accountability, striking the balance. That's the conversation that we will have today at 8. So we'll start off with the economy, we'll go into media, and we'll finish it off with the law. That's what Justice Thursday looks like this morning, and we'll get into it. Thanks for joining us. Indeed, our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. Christine is making things work over there. So asante sana to you as we get into things this morning. Joylene, Frank, everybody, good morning. And we'll get into it shortly. We'll say hi to you after we go to the land of the pharaohs. Yes.
And in Egypt, there are very many proverbs. So, our proverb today: the camel cannot see the bend in its own neck. Well, so this is funny. It sounds not even funny. So the first time I read this, I was like, wait a minute. I've had this joke somewhere in a movie, but the joke was not about a camel.
It was not about a camel.
It was about this guy who, was blessed in the midsection. He was carrying the weight of prosperity
on him.
The blessings were too much. There was a container of blessings
that he was
around the waist area, and he went through a surgery. And the first thing when he woke up, the excitement was finally he could see the neck of his camel. And that was a joy for him. For many years he had not. So this, we say there these small blessings and big blessings, small graces and big graces. You thank God for it.
Indeed. So what
one man thinks is just normal, for another man it's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
So this was a very big miracle. Please, let's come back to Egypt.
All right, back to Egypt. Please take us back to Egypt. And this is one of the many cases where people say, take us back to Egypt.
Yes, take us back to Egypt. The camel cannot see the bend in its own neck.
The camel cannot see the bend in its own neck. It's very difficult. I guess it's kind of like we equate to you can't see your own fault. And what would look like is a crutch to somebody else, that we often point out the wrongs in somebody else without seeing. Because when you think about a bend, it stops you from being straight, right? That you have to maneuver. But usually once you carry that fault, you rarely see it. We often tend to see the bend in other people without seeing the bend in ours.
Well, what is a bend? Naturally, when you think of a bend, is like think of a bend in everything in life. Like if you're driving, for example, you are at 100.
Yeah.
Then there is a sign that tells you just ahead is either
bend.
bump or there's a bend.
Yeah.
What happens? You slow down.
Slow down.
And when you're on those fast speeds, we hit bends.
Yeah, you just want to keep going.
Yeah, hitting the brakes, turning, and all that. I was in Moranga last week for a friend's burial that lost the mother, and we used a road that he actually told me the road has a nickname, inaitwa Nyoka or something, Snake Road or something. The meanders, oh my God, and it was at night.
Yeah.
It was just like, yeah, that's how the road. And I hated it. I was like, we should have used the other road
And
to
gone straight.
Kabati. That one is easier. But the tricky thing here was this. It's not necessary, and it felt like the straight one was actually shorter. This other one was longer. So like, no, actually they're the same. So when you go through the meanders, it slows you down. So the distance looks like, no, this is too much. So everybody wants things that are straight like this. So a bend sometimes can sound like it's an inconvenience. But in this case is a bend when you see somebody and you think of the weaknesses or their faults and you don't realize that you've got your own.
Absolutely.
Yes, you don't notice that you have a bend.
Or several.
Yeah, it's basically blindness to self-awareness. You only are aware of other people's faults, other people's troubles, other people's problems, other people's issues, other people's weaknesses, but you don't necessarily notice that you also have some problems. Yeah.
Indeed. May we be more self-aware. Necessary, I think, as we go through it. All right, let's say good morning to you as we get into it. We can see you guys are tuning in to the room this morning. Did I say our live streams are up? They are. They're up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. And we say good morning to your fam on Facebook this morning. Thank you for always getting in and joining us. Stan, we see you. Good morning to you. And then getting into it this morning. Good morning, Spice. Watching from Voi is Rogers Nyange. Good morning to you. Kavoy Felix is here from Kathonzweni. Good morning to you. Tuning from Nairobi is Pan-African Kenyan. Good to see you. Silas Akala is here as well. Tuned in from Brazil. Happy and pushing the week. Fantastic. Don Sabwa says, in less than 48 hours, Gen Z in Nepal burnt politicians' houses. Okay, let's see. Burnt politicians' houses. Increased the protest with curfew. Firing the prime minister. Got him to resign. Entered parliament and burnt it down. How are you, Ndwan Okari? We're okay.
We're good.
Robin Tobogo is tuned this morning from Mombasa. Patrick Mutinda says, good morning, everybody. Karibu sana. Peter Kiari is tuned in and says, silence is better than unnecessary drama. Let me tell you, if there's a lesson I have learned this year, to zip it. Telling you. Douglas Kibogong says, good morning. What spices will use to spice this Thursday? Well, let's see and get into it. Kennedy Ongwai says, good morning. Tune in from Nairobi. Charlie Kirk has been unalived. Did you see that story?
Yes.
A politician in the US, in Utah, actually. And he was speaking up about what he stood for. And he was shot yesterday. Interesting because a high school friend of mine was right there in the area where it was happening. And she sent out messages to all of us last night. She said, pray because Charlie Kirk has been shot. Yeah. And so we're like, okay, what's going on? And so she sent us a message later and said, you know what? He didn't make it. So I was just like, wow. For standing up and speaking what you believe in, it was a hard one to see. Michael Olanda says, bonjour, good to have you in the room, Michael. Isaac Kale says, unlike politicians, SpiceFM actually delivers on promises. How about that? Spicing up my day without needing a manifesto. Always spicing up my morning with a kind of heat that doesn't need a campaign rally. My goodness. In the days of copywriting, Isaac Kale would have been a millionaire. Copywriting is not so big anymore. I wish it were.
It's not, huh?
It's not. I wish it were because copywriters did magic with words to bring a product or a service to life for advertising.
So it was a skill.
I mean, and there were very few worldwide. If you were born in an earlier time, Isa. Eric Owora says, good morning. Boaz Nalianya said, good morning as well. Wishing a wonderful day from Kitale. Thank you so much. Kenya's being run on Fuliza. Woi. Baga Joshua, good morning. Eric Ohomo is tuned in from Lukenya Hills. Hisa Daniel is also tuned in this morning and he said, history was made yesterday after 14 years, construction of a hydropower plant in Ethiopia. Indeed, 14 years from a plan from Meles Zenawi all the way to we see the thing actually working. And it was not launched for things to start. It was launched and it's going. You understand? The waters were introduced 3 years ago and it's now serving people. Agola says, good morning, Spice says, good morning, team, says Christina. Good morning to you. Ndu, invite Kennedy Odede of the CEO of Shofco. He has done more than the government when it comes to healthcare and education. Want to look into? Evie has her eyes on the ground and her ears everywhere, so she's heard that. Jimmy Munuthi is tuned in this morning. Have a super day. Tuned in from Naivasha. Nyakundi Emmanuel is also tuned in this morning. Ndu, tell us about the Jogo. I did. There you go. Your public phone number is not working. Which one? Mashari and Jeru says, good morning, tuned in. Let's go. Nepal Gen Z have done the unthinkable. Indeed. James Kamau is tuned in this morning from Forney in Texas. And, excuse me. Yeah, indeed. The mental health situation in the country was declared an emergency. So what that should have done is that it should have unlocked resources, not just money, but also people to actually start to handle this. It wasn't. Ngesha in Kiambu County is where Abera Bethwell is tuning from this morning and says, good morning. Rahim Tula Omar says, good morning as well. Newton Emase is tuning from Nyakach. David Mangera is also here this morning. Dr. Venvik is tuned in. Sir Brian Mutego says, good morning. The best way to start the morning at Stana. Mutuflani says, roosters crow with a change of temperature. No, this one crows all the day long. And it has been crowing since it is now warm. And it was cold. Thing is still crowing. That one, apana.
There's a default setting.
This one is
not. It's settings. There's something wrong.
Kabisa. Paris Modoni says, good morning. Haki Ndu Chocha this morning. Nini, come to my town or village in Western County for 1 week. It will crow all the time. Ndu, yours crows at 3:20. Isa. Ndu, that's not a rooster. It's a rooster. Okay, I get what you are saying. It's not a rooster. Cindy. Agola, good morning. Carol Anatupenda Sana. Pan-African Kenyan, yes. Chicken nap it. Dennis Wewe, unaambiwa it's too early for those things. Charles Kalafi is tuned in from Ruai. And he says, in the island of Bermuda, Kenyeji chicken roam free and are not considered edible because they're tough to eat. Charcoal for 3 hours. The thing is soft.
Yeah.
Allah, quick.
There is no chicken that's tough to eat.
Never.
It's how you cook it.
The element of heat that you apply for the duration of time. Heat plus time equals soft chicken.
Yeah. And the best way to do it is just brine it.
Yep. Brine it first.
Yeah.
And then now
my last chicken, I actually marinated it for 2 days.
I'm scare you. Okay. We need to talk about that. Anne Purnell says, Ndu, have you ever watched Chicken Run? I did. They're very clever, those chickens. Maybe this one is the one who's been sent to scout out before its brothers are brought. Good morning from Maseno. Good morning to you, Brian Nick. Henry Odero says, good morning. Julia Song is tuned in. This is Dennis Okari. Always a pleasure to be here. Jack Bryan says good morning. Master Perkin is also tuned in. The sisters Isaiah Tuwe and Sean Grishi are tuned in this morning. Calvin Somondi is also here. General Isa Madenge is tuned in from Ukunda. I want to go through Ukunda. Anne Purnell, we see you. Good morning. A proud Nepalese tuned in from Kiambu. Okay, Oganga Ken. Everybody, good morning. Karibu Sana. And thank you for tuning in this morning. Let's get into it, shall we? And look into what the headlines are telling us. On the front page of Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard, assassins on wheels. Nairobi lawyer Matthew Chalo Mbobu was on his way home when he was shot in the head by a gunman on a border. Not only was a family man killed, but also a lawyer, lecturer and philanthropist eliminated. This is Nairobi's new face of terror, gun-toting assassins on motorbikes cutting down lawyers, MPs and businessmen in broad daylight, leaving a trail of blood, grief and unanswered questions. The murder in Karen is the latest in a chilling pattern that exposes a broken security system and a police force that appears clueless in the face of such brutality. We've seen other cases like this. Of course, a member for Kasipul, Ongondowere, was shot in May. 2016 is when we saw businessman Jacob Juma also shot down. 2015, the famous case of the Kabete MP, where we even have people admitting to carrying the ones who were said to have shot him. I mean, it's all over socials of how that happened. So are we getting into new terror sites? Those are the questions. Zhao Musao, good friend of mine actually, advocate and friend of Chalo, says he helped so many people, but he never spoke about it. Actually, on the morning of the day he died, he offered to make copies of his evidence book for donation to Southeastern University Law School. May his soul rest in peace. But we're going to look at this story in detail, and I'm sure you want to share the details of that as we get into it, Okari. Baringo math teacher beat the odds to win top continental awards. There are some folks who are grinding and they're making a mark on the lives of people. Today is the 9th of September. I beg your pardon. Today is the 11th of September. So it's 9/11. On this day, some 24 years ago, the Twin Towers in the state of New York were blasted out of the sky, literally. And Osama bin Laden and his group didn't take much longer after the devastation to take responsibility for that. And they said that the war of terror was now being brought directly to the doorstep of the United States. The reverberations from that on a global scale were crazy. And the face of terror changed like never before. I'm not reading this, it's coming from my head. Because we remember in that time, I was in an international relations class at that moment when that thing happened. And we were all wondering, what is this? But the world changed significantly after that. And how the terror strike in the US changed Kenya and the global security outlook. Today is the day we remember that. And Ground Zero still exists in New York. And we still continue to see how the face of terror changes as we look into things. All right. So there's fear that's gripped people in the city, especially now that we're seeing that gun-toting assassins can ride around on motorbikes and we don't have much to do about it. EACC to senators. The chairperson and the CEO of the EACC were presented before the Parliamentary Accounts Committee yesterday. And the Senate County Public Accounts Committee yesterday. And they basically said, you know what? You need to help us. Let us take these cases that we find all the way to court, because somehow they die somewhere in the bowels of the system and they don't find their way to court. We want to do it, but you guys have to then give us the power by making the law to actually get it done. So we can talk and talk and talk, but let us...
It was a bit dramatic.
It was quite dramatic. Yeah. And at some point, David Oginde was ready to get up and leave.
Yeah, and this is because it was questioned, like, how do you come to this sitting with no files? You know you're coming.
Where did you think you were going? The beach?
You needed to have carried files.
So that was interesting. Debt relief is the last hope for Africa to withstand climate change shocks. That's what we're being told. Judiciary and MPs clash over billions paid as allowances. You might want to hear this. A parliamentary committee has questioned the rationale of allowing the judiciary to determine its own rates outside the recommendation of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. SRC says if you go to Naivasha, we will give you X amount for your per diem. If you go to Mombasa, we will give you X amount. If you go to Uganda or New York or Nepal, we will give you this amount. It is set by the SRC. Then the judiciary comes in and says, actually, you know what? We and decide how. And MPs are saying, what do you mean? The SRC is there for a reason. You people are state officers. The SRC should set. So they're having a bit of a tiff. And let's see how that is sorted out. And that's what it looks like, more or less. All I see is blood. Coney survivors recall horrors. Remember, that case is going on. And the ICC now has the mandate to start to hear in absentia, of course, of Joseph Kony. Somebody asked a question to me later on in the evening when we're having a debate, as we normally do. You people think that Joseph Kony is still alive? I was like, wow, okay. All right. That's what it looks like, guys. Over to you, Okari.
Okay, well, where do we even start? Let's look at the Daily Nation. House-slain lawyer was ambushed. That's the headline. Assassination. MP Charles Were was murdered in similar drive-by shooting in May. So, I was just going through the details from the different dailies with what exactly happened on that day. So the horror of gangland-style executions resurfaced on Tuesday evening when senior lawyer Matthew Kyalombobu was shot dead by gunmen as he drove to his current home. He was waylaid on his regular route barely 2 hours after leaving his city centre office. And James Maluki, who's Mbobu's brother, says it's not clear whether the death is related to his work or an act of thuggery. Evidently, the killers had trailed him for some time. They knew the time he drove home, and it appears they also knew his car. So Dark Tuesday timelines from 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Details of what exactly happened there. We'll get into the details of this story in a bit, but still, in other stories, I was given 15 days to leave. It has now been 3 years. 2 years after surgery, Caroline Wakanyi, who is battling rheumatic heart disease, is recovering at her home in Kennel. Education. Lecturers strike to disrupt learning in public universities. So Dons accuse the state of reneging on 5.5 billion salary increments. And then 150 million rice scam rocks Mombasa port. History mchele, I saw this coming. Nilikuwa nimeona mbali. DPP, the weakest link in graft war, senators say. So senators want the Director of Public Prosecution stripped off absolute prosecution powers to tighten loopholes in the fight against graft amid a wave of controversial withdrawals of corruption cases. Falling short of calling for the dissolution of the office, the legislators say they will move to amend Article 157 of the Constitution to limit the powers of the DPP on prosecution. This will be serious. Describing the office as the weakest link in the fight against corruption, the senator said the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission must have prosecutorial powers for the war against corruption to succeed. That conversation was happening in Parliament yesterday. Now, the Office of the Control of Budget has given a damning report on President William Ruto's hyped housing project, saying it largely remains behind schedule. The project is overseen by the State Department for Housing and Urban Development, and the August 2025 National Government Budget Implementation and Review report by Dr. Margaret Nyakango comes against revelations that the government is using the proceeds of the housing levy on treasury bills and bonds. So the report reveals underperformance in the delivery of the housing units, adding that at 86% of the country's urban development recorded the lowest budget absorption rate for the 2024-2025 financial year. These gaps point to delays in the delivery of urban infrastructure and amenities, possibly due to inadequate planning, procurement inefficiencies, poor coordination and funding challenges, the report tabled in Parliament says. By February this year, the government had invested the 446 billion.
Where?
From the housing levy and treasury bills, according to Housing PS Charles Singer.
Okay.
And we've been having this conversation just swirling around. Look, we're also going to build hospitals. We're building police stations. We're building this.
But we're not building schools, though.
The initial idea, well, that's what was being said.
Yeah.
That, we want to make sure that if somebody's leaving the house, there's a school nearby, there's a police station, and there's also a hospital.
Okay.
Sounds like a proper idea.
Sure.
But the fault over the delays is because there's diversion of funds.
That's according to COB?
Yes.
All right.
Now,
that doesn't sound too good, though.
Yes. Hustler Fund defaulters. Listen. Oh, that didn't come out right. Wait.
It's like you're talking to, you know who
it's
they are.
It's not me. I'm just reading the paper.
Yeah.
So, Kenyans who defaulted on Hustler Fund loans will not be allowed to borrow from banks, will not be allowed to borrow from SACCOs and other financial institutions. So, the government, well, this is what the government said this week. It made public new plans to scale up credit access and market linkages for micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSMEs. The announcement was made by Cooperatives and MSMEs Development Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya in Mombasa. As of May, the government had recorded 6 billion in defaults from Hustler Fund borrowers. 6B. Yes. Before any bank approves a loan, it will confirm if the borrower has a history with the Hustler Fund.
Okay, that's great. But you know what? For such things that would change any kind of legislation, financial legislation, it must go to Parliament. The people who borrowed money, they apparently they know who they are, isn't it?
Kama mwenye aliomba najua aliomba na hajarudisha. The Kenyans here, they know themselves.
They know.
Yes.
That's interesting that he can say that, but I wonder what it would mean. Excuse me. If you wanted to bring it into any kind of legislation, you would have to have legislation around that.
Well, it's government.
Yes. Yeah,
and we know what will happen in Parliament.
Yeah, but still, if it's got anything to do to protect anybody who also might have a loan from the Hustler Fund that they've not paid back, likelihood the lobbying will be, come on, relax. Use other measures to be able to get the money back. But it's interesting, if 6 billion shillings is the amount of money that has been borrowed, or rather has been unreturned, and they had an initial kitty of 50 billion shillings for this hustler fund, they're not doing too badly. You know, it's right about 10%, which is usually much lower than what the banks complain about. The banks are usually in their mid-20s when they talk about default rates and money that's out.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, about this story of the lawyer.
Yes.
So I'm looking at the different daily. So I was looking at the Star. It's quite similar stories. The headline for the Star is EFCC attacks prosecutor as ODPP defense dropped cases. So why did he die? That's one of the main stories. Cops retrace lawyers' steps, and detectives are trying to probe the motive. So it's been busy as they try to unravel what exactly happened.
Yeah.
And if we just go back and look at chronology of events for that day, so people are saying that lawyer Kel Mbobu built his career on a president in court. Outside it, that same devotion to routine may have sealed his fate, because he was a man who was very structured, followed routine. So on Tuesday evening, what happened is the assassins on a motorbike stalked the 72-year-old advocate.
He wasn't young. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I thought he was actually much younger.
Younger, so did I.
Yeah. But unajua wanasema Wakamba wazeekangi, by the way. Did you know that?
Sorry?
If you go to Ukambani.
I worked in Ukamani for
you worked in Ukambani. Did you ever notice?
Dalani.
Did you ever notice you will find 102-year-olds
walking?
Yeah, they're there.
That's actually true.
When you hear it in America, there's the oldest. No. There are very many in Ukambani.
There is a woman who used to walk from. That's how you know I know inside Ukambani. She used to walk from Goliba to Yata and then through towards Ndalani every day, walking, coming back.
That route.
Old woman. Yeah.
Like almost 100?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Straight.
They're blessed with age.
Indeed.
Long life.
Indeed.
Okay, so now what happened is on Tuesday evening, well, they're saying for decades, Mbobu's daily routine never wavered. So he arrived at his town office before 6 a.m. on Tuesday, prepared for the day, then walked to Holy Family Basilica for the 6:30 a.m. Mass. And then by 8 a.m., he was back at his desk. Lunch was usually delivered to him. At 4:30 p.m. sharp, he left for his current home driving via Langata Road. On the fateful day, he had lunch away from the office due to meetings. So somebody was saying Council did not eat lunch in the office on September 9. He went out for a meeting, came back after 2 p.m., stayed until 4:30 p.m., then left for the day. A receptionist at Keller and Associates said. So shortly after 6:30 p.m., past Galleria Mall and Brookhouse School, his killers struck. So the spot is covered in a bush and poorly lit. It forced drivers to slow at a bend with no CCTV cameras and little human activity. It was a perfect ambush. The gunman fired multiple rounds before fleeing into the traffic. So yesterday, what the homicide detectives and forensic officers were trying to examine the scene and establish quite a number of things. And as you're thinking about what exactly could have happened, because we're all asking what could have been the motive, you know, detectives are racing against time to unravel that mystery behind the murder of Matthew Mbobu. So on Tuesday evening, this is now from the stand, just looking at the report. Now, witnesses are saying that the gunman actually dropped moments earlier by a motorcycle rider, walked casually, all right, up to his car before pulling the trigger 3 times.
So he wasn't even on a motorcycle, he was standing.
So now this is the other report, So that's what witnesses are saying, that the gunman was actually dropped moments earlier by a motorcycle rider. Then this person now, the assassin, walked towards the lawyer's car, pulling the trigger 3 times, shattering the windscreen and leaving the lawyer slumped over the wheel. The assailants took nothing from him. So at least now you can establish it wasn't robbery. So they didn't take anything from him. Their only mission, police believe, was to kill. Now, after firing warning shots in the air to scatter boda riders who tried to pursue them, the gunman and his accomplice sped off towards the city center. Leaving behind the lawyer's car, its engine still running, rolled forward and struck a matatu ahead as panic gripped other road users. Motorists scrambled for safety while Mbobu bled to death inside his vehicle, unfortunately. So detectives later recovered 3 spent cartridges from the scene. That's where now the forensic officers come in. They have since retraced his movements earlier that day from his law firm on Koinange Street to a lunch meeting at a restaurant along Jakaya Kikwete Road, then onto the city's busy roads before joining Magadi Road, where security cameras captured his killers trailing him. Okay?
Oh, wow.
So investigators are not ruling out any motive. They have visited 3 banks where he held accounts to check for any suspicious transactions, while also probing his client base to establish whether any case or dispute could have triggered the killing. All this is to try and establish motive. So his law partners, his clients, and family members are expected to be questioned on whether he had recently expressed fear for his life, and so on and so forth. So Director of Criminal Investigations Mohammed Amin confirmed that a homicide team supported by forensic experts was working around the clock, and is appealing to anyone in the public to provide any information through their numbers.
I don't know.
It's all horrific.
It's horrific.
It's just horrific.
It's horrific. I mean, good Lord. It's just, even we had to look at the pictures and the videos that we saw that came out of that. It was just horrific.
And you know, I covered, for this one, it's just reading through, when Jacob Juma was murdered, I covered it. And if you looked, so somebody told me, whoever actually assassinated him, it was cleverly planned. They knew his routine, the CCTV footage that captured him in town and all that before, now going to Karen. You look at the spots, it was again very bushy, no CCTV at the time.
Yeah.
So there was no record that you would see anybody coming in shooting at his car that was fully armored. Now, this particular case resembles that, that people then knew this is how, and the time he leaves home, goes to his office. And I remember speaking to a police officer at the time, and he said, Dennis, sometimes if you're doing sensitive things, for example, or in certain offices, it's important to break routine. And he said sometimes routine helps the people who would want them to attack, to study. You always use this route. So he was telling me, if you live in a place where you can actually get out through 3 different
exits,
try, just mix it. Today you're using this route, tomorrow you're using this route, tomorrow the other you're using. So, but if you are somebody who's very structured and you follow routine, then you become easy target, especially if there's an issue. So clearly, even from the families who are speaking about what exactly happened, they will tell you, he used to live very structured, leaves at this time, gets to the office by 6, then goes to Mass at Holy Family Basilica, then he always has his lunch in the office, leaves his office, drives himself straight home.
So they studied that for some time.
They studied.
And they were able to know.
It was very, very clear. And the fact that they didn't steal anything, didn't take his wallet, his phone, nothing was stolen.
No, it's pointing
it clearly
to
tells you it was an assassination. Then they're probing his 3 bank accounts to find out if there's any monies that have been withdrawn. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of work.
It's going to be a lot of work. But I think that just that they've been able to capture the footage over 24 hours and see, this is where he was going, speak to people already, and to find out, the details. The hope and prayer is that all the different pieces will be linked together and they can find out who did this. And I know, it can never bring anybody back. But what it does is that it provides you with some knowledge that, and I also always say that I don't like the word closure, because you don't want to close on that chapter of somebody who was dear to you. And, just like Nzal Musau said about him, is this stuff comes out, at somebody's death, unfortunately.
But this
things we look at.
Yeah, but the thing is, cases of killers riding on motorcycles have been on the rise in Nairobi.
This is the problem.
This is one prominent case.
Exactly.
But if you probe, you'll find there are other similar cases. If it's not robbery, it is assassination.
It's assassination.
And we've had so many of these stories where gun-toting assassins are riding on motorbikes. And it's becoming a common thing in Nairobi. It's nipping lives and throwing families into mourning and despair. And a lot of these motorbikes, have you ever taken time to the motorbikes that you'll find actually, they have no number plates. Who even follows to see that number plate, capture number plate of a motorcycle?
It gives rise to the security conversation, and that now folks are now getting a little bit more worried about getting into the city. And it is something that you need to, this is not the bud. This flower has already blossomed and bloomed. So it's difficult to nip it in the bud, but you can do something about it. And we must. The security situation needs to be looked into.
Yep.
We don't want a situation where folks are living in fear and don't want to even come out of their houses or do anything that is a routine. Those are the stories that we're looking at this morning. And of course, more to come in during the conversations that we have. Good morning, 7 a.m.
Good morning. Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga. A post-mortem exercise on the body of lawyer Kyalo Mbombu, who was shot dead on Tuesday evening on Magadi Road, is set to take place today at the Lee Funeral Home. The family of the city lawyer has demanded for justice and thorough investigations.
Sasa kile tunasema kile kimefanyika jana ni jambo la kuhuzunisha sana. Wakili ambaye anafanya kazi yake na mtu ambaye ni wa kutumainiwa namna hiyo nimetaja, kuuawa na wahuni sio jambo zuri, na yetu ni kuappeal kwa serikali hiyo jambo iangaliwe sana, ichunguzwe, kwa sababu tunahitaji kuwa na freedom of movement. Tunahitajika as professionals, we need to do our work without fear of intimidation, without fear. We don't have to look over our shoulders to see who could be pursuing us, particularly when we are doing sensitive cases or we are involved in our professional work. Kwa hivyo tunaomba serikali ichunguze hiyo jambo, iangalie kabisa na hao wahuni watiwa baroni na hiyo jambo la aina hiyo likomeshwe.
This event comes as LSK is expected to lead its members in a protest tomorrow of Mbombu's murder. LSK President Faith Odhiambo has announced that the peaceful protest will start at Bilimani Court towards Vigilance House via Kenyatta Avenue at around 9 a.m. Lawyers aim to hand over their grievances to Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja. Academic activities at public universities may be disrupted if the government does not address the demands of lecturers within the next 7 days. WASU Secretary General Constantine Wesonga says the government has failed to pay about 3.27 billion shillings of CBA, a situation that threatens to disrupt education across public universities.
We are issuing a 7-day strike notice over failure by the government to implement 2021-2025 phase 2 CBRAs for the financial year 2025-2026, totaling to 2.73 billion.
And Wesonga has criticized the government, claiming that it has been playing tricks on them instead of solving the issues facing lecturers and university staff.
The third reason why we are going on strike is failure by IPC, by the government, to implement the 2017-2021 CBA as per the Employment and Labour Relations Court judgment in Nairobi in ELREC CBA number 1 of 2020, CBA number 2 of 2020, and CBA number 3 of 2020.
18 high-profile graft cases from 15 counties have been withdrawn by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions since 2013. AACC Chairperson David Oginde now says it lacks the prosecutorial powers, has severely undermined its ability to hold corrupt officials accountable and recover stolen public funds. A long-standing tough war, the AACC and the ODPP has resurfaced, and between the two of them has actually resurfaced as the latest report to the Senate County Public Accounts Committee reveals how completed graft investigations have repeatedly stalled at the prosecution stage.
It would be good for us if we take our cases all the way through to court. Civil cases, as has been mentioned by the CEO, the law allows us to take our cases all the way through. And if you look at our rate of success, it is in the area of recoveries.
As we give you the product, we wait for feedback. So in short, Chair, Senator Wambua, that comes from the DPP because he's the one who has the product. And in cases where the DPP feels that we need to discuss further, we are willing, and we have always discussed. We have always sat down, in some cases discussed, but it depends on the goodwill of the DPP.
And finally, police in Kitui are searching for the driver of a car that hit and killed 2 people and fled at BAT area. County Police Commander Peter Karanja has appealed to the public to report any information regarding the vehicle that was involved in the accident.
We got call from a member of public that there was an accident and 2 people were hit by unknown motor vehicle. One succumbed to the injuries on the spot, or the other one was pronounced dead on arrival at Kitui County Referral. The vehicle, it was hit and run. We are appealing to members of public that if they have any information that will lead us to the arrest of the driver and the detention of the vehicle that was involved in an accident, to give us the information. It was around BAT area, the road that is Kitui Polytechnic to National Serious Board near Skylarks.
Remember to continue enjoying the EPL matches across our radio stations, Beru, Radio Maisha, and here on SpiceFM. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is not...
Statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers, or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it?
Kuja tuongee. I mean, you'd be a fool to say, "Staki kuongea today." Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Good morning. It's 11 minutes after 7 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, and welcome to it as we get into one for this hour. Our live streams are on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. If you're clicking in on socials, our audience on KTN. Good morning, everybody. And we're getting into one that might rattle us just a little bit this morning, but necessary for us to have. Spending for progress or piling on debt? It's a conversation we're having this morning, and both our guests in the studio, Dr. Stephen Gashie is an economist. He'll crunch the numbers in the room for us today and tell us where all of this is coming from and where we're going. Justina Wamai is a champion for economic democracy. We must all be involved in this thing, and she's here with us. Lady and gentlemen, good morning.
Morning, dude.
How are you?
Fine.
Yes?
Yes, Dennis.
Hata mimi nakuona. Good to see you, finally.
Finally.
You're well?
I'm well, kabisa. Considering that there's no money. I'm always saying there's no money. Kenyans must say that hakuna pesa.
You know, salamu yake ya kwanza. How are you?
I'm not fine.
I'm not fine. Things are not.
Yeah, but we thank God for the good health.
Yeah.
Yes, we thank God for the good health.
Indeed, that is true.
Yes.
Doc, how are you doing?
Been well. It's been a bit.
It has been a while.
Yes, I'm doing well.
Good.
I won't say there's no money. What there is that...
it's just that Justin and I don't have it.
No. That is I was saying that people... It's not the money they don't have, it's the purchasing power.
Oh. Let's look at some of those definitions in terms of what they are going
meaning that your per capita income, whatever the households are getting, it is not enough to sustain them.
Okay. We'll come to that in just a bit. But first of all, Dennis took us to the land of pharaohs and pyramids this week. We'd love to hear your interpretation of this proverb.
Okay. Yes, so we are facing north this week, and in facing north this week, we want to go into a country that invented the calendar.
Okay.
And also quite a number of things. Math also, because we're talking numbers. The same numbers also came from that country. And we're talking about Egypt. And the proverb today is the camel cannot see the bend in its own neck. The camel cannot see the bend in its own neck. Ladies first.
Thank you, Dennis. When I think about the bend, I think about weaknesses that we may have. I may not see my weakness, but I believe there'll be some indicators. Someone might tell me. I'll just end up knowing that I have a weakness. So it takes me back, taking it back to this conversation we're going to be having. Look at when boda bodas are banning vehicles after an accident. And you see many boda boda riders are saying, do you think, even as we are graduates, we're educated, we are not here because we want, it's because we don't have jobs. So it's an indicator to the government that out of the 24 million that's supposed to be our labor force, only 3 million are in formal employment. So when someone says, I'm a boda boda, si ati kupenda, I'm here because I'm looking for something, but they believe they can do better. So as an indicator, this weakness is indicated to the government that you need to do more in terms of creating formal employment for these people, or formal legal money-making opportunities. So I think in as much as you don't know your weakness, there will be indicators towards your weaknesses.
Well, so in this case, the government is the camel that cannot see the bend.
But they're being told, here's your bend. Yes.
Okay.
I'll go into management. That's what we call Johari window. The Johari window is when maybe you have a speck on your face of just eating that good lunch, Okari and sukuma wiki, and you're smiling, and there's some bit of
greenery
on your teeth, but you're smiling so widely until someone tells you, this is it. So I think it is that which you can't see, but you must appreciate feedback.
Absolutely. That which you can't see, but you must appreciate. Well, all right. Let's start this conversation on a macro level, and then we can deduce, go down to where we are when it comes to the thought, not the thought, the reality for a lot of people that money doesn't seem to be moving. And when we will start with you, Doc, because from that macroeconomic level, what is the outlook on the economy that will get us to the point whereby we are saying there's no money? You already started talking about per capita, per household, and all of this. And also when we look at this vis-a-vis what the country is battling with in terms of debt, now at 12 trillion shillings debt, or at inching very, very close to that at 11.8. So when we say that is happening on that global, on that umbrella scale, how does it then affect what's happening on the tables of Kenyans?
Thank you very much. Normally, I think the last time I was here, I kept saying we are still in a deep head.
Okay.
Economic speaking. Because I believe that those at the treasury and wherever they are not getting the fundamentals right, especially both at macro and micro aspects. I start with saying that if you look at where we are, households, the literal, whatever the households are getting literal than what they were getting maybe 2 years ago. And when you get literal, it will say that you cannot be able to afford even if the price of unga is reduced. And that is the irony, whereby we are saying the politician or the political class will claim that our economy is doing very well, including the CS treasury. However, he will say the inflation has reduced. Why is it so? Because there is no demand for products. So when you don't have demand, what happens? The prices stagnate. So for someone without that able to clutch, and we keep saying, when you give us that data, infer or go beyond the data so that it can speak to you. When you say that we have the highest forex reserve, what does it mean? Is that we are not importing. So there is no...
So you're not using the money?
No. So you have the reserve. And where is the reserve coming from? It's not coming from coffee. It's not coming from tourism. It's not coming from tea. It's not coming from export of others. A lot of it is what IMF give us. Meaning that is what you are keeping. So when those sectors, especially agriculture, is not exporting more, meaning 70% of our households are agriculture driven.
Hang on, sorry. When you get money from the IMF or you get money from the World Bank or any other development partner, we're going to call them development partner for the purposes of this conversation, you're supposed to use the funds for development. Why would you keep it and put it in your foreign reserve?
You see what is happening?
Then now what you've done is that you've created a false sense that you have some money when you don't. Because that money that you're keeping in reserves, you eventually have to pay it back, no?
Actually, you talked about debt, meaning it's the same money we are going to pay debt.
So you're keeping the money that they gave you to pay the debt and you've not done anything?
I give an analogy of where I come from, where Wazers would go home singing how much cows they have and goats. Well, place we take goats. And an old Musai will tell you, you have sons, so you have no goats to sing about. Because I have daughters. I'll take of your goats when you give the bride price. Meaning, the little or the much we have at Forex, we are going to pay debt. So there isn't much we are doing with the money. I don't know whether you're following. That however much we have that reserve, but most of concern is that where is the reserve coming from? It is not from the exports. It's not from tourism so that we can take cost people enjoying the boom. Meaning our households rely on agriculture, 70% of our households. So when agriculture is not doing well, people don't have money in their pockets. If you go to the sectors that seem to be growing, is financial sector. Why are they growing? Because they are lending to the government. Again, the issue of the debts. Why is it that the construction industry is not expanding, and yet we have the affordable housing?
Why?
One, for me, maybe there could be what we call, when you do infrastructure, there could be capital flight. That people who are doing that, when they get the money, it's taking out there. Maybe where we are buying the raw materials. Otherwise, when you do a capital expenditure project, you should feel it, because there is that trickle-down effect of resources. So in all, what we are saying is that there are some fundamentals economically the government are not doing right. And that's why people who are in the business are saying there is no money because you don't have resources to go and buy. So the demand is suppressed.
So, Justina, where you would ordinarily get the resources from is if somebody or people on a large scale purchased either goods or services. That's where now you then get what essentially we would call a float to then be able to do these things. But so if people are not purchasing, then you as the manufacturing or whatever sector then don't have the power to also purchase on this other side.
Yes, you don't have the power. And again, when you say that, oh, let me try and take a bank loan, you will not be able to repay the bank loan because you do not have income. Remember, they're telling us that the interest rates are now at, I think, 12%, which is fair enough. But I think government is lowering the interest rates. The CBK is lowering the interest rate to make it easier for government to borrow. Remember now, when we look at the domestic debt they have around 6.5 billion in terms of domestic debt. Hence, they have crowded out private sector. And banks are saying, Justina is a risk. But government, I'm going to recoup my money. So that is where the problem is, because government is thinking, when we buy bodas and give 100 bodas in a constituency, we are helping people. You're not. Focus on the factors of production. Focus on the labor, taxes, energy. If when you listen to many bodas, they're like, yeah, I used to carry someone using 50 bob this distance. Now, because of cost of fuel, I had to add the money to 100 shillings. And then they're saying we're not getting customers because the customer is saying the alternative of a boda is walking. So you're saving, you're ending up to save money and you're not consuming. So it goes back to when I told you, the last time I was here and I told you that as a politician, I rebranded to a champion of economic democracy because I realized the gap is that politicians say, we never have economic conversations in our politics. And that's why you've seen a politician telling us, oh, the finance bill is a very big document. I could not read all of it. So why are we throwing out the economic conversation? And that is where the issue is. We are talking about social justice, that the police are taking bribery, the police are putting up Trump charges on you.
Trumped up charges.
Yes, on you, because they want something. Why is it? Because everyone is looking for that money in a way that is not right, and then we end up having issues. So I think government should focus mostly at this point. It's not about giving anything to people. It is about policy and legislative proposals in terms of land as a factor of production, in terms of labor, in terms of energy, in terms of even materials.
These policies exist, though, Justina. Look across, government agencies, look across the departments. Let's just take agriculture, for example. There is a government agreement in place between the UAE and Kenya to supply or to create, so government will create a conducive environment where these things will be able to thrive. But the issue is that sometimes we put the cart before the horse. That sure, so UAE on this side is waiting and is looking for Kenyan, grade livestock because they are heavy consumers of the meat, goat, ram especially. Right? So went and signed the deal, then now came back and said, okay, now Kenyan farmers, we need to now set up something so that you will now be able to have the grade meat that we're looking for, and then we'll facilitate for export. So you just produce, we export, produce, we export. But then what happens at the back end when you're trying to insist or that you should make sure that these farmers have everything that they need to feed these cattle properly? Are you making sure that the cost of production to put into the livestock is low? How then do we focus on the policies of making sure that the factors of production, like you talk about, are actually at the top of the table? Because otherwise, the agreement sits and starts to gather dust on the shelves.
I agree.
And there are very many examples of things like this.
I think what comes to bite us as a country is something we call scarcity mentality. If you look at all sectors in this country, they are not really working. The only sector working is politics. And people are realizing that the factor of production in politics is connections. That now I have been part of this agreement with the UAE. Justina wants to do everything. She wants to supply. She wants to benefit. And that is why I think they end up frustrating even implementation. They cannot give even farmers incentives. I want to be the only one who is supplying to UAE. And that's why you even hear issues of there's some politicians or in positions of power who even are supplying to Kenya Meat Commission. They do not want other Kenyans to benefit out of it. So I think when we grow the economy, it eases out the pressure of the only sector working is politics. So Justina has to go there. Justina wants to benefit from the factor of production connection, which is not even a factor of production in the first place. So it goes back to sabotaging what other Kenyans can benefit from, because you do not want competition from other Kenyans. You want to be the only one who is benefiting. And And I always insist that if the economy was working, if all other sectors, including innovation and research, were working, Kenyans would not even really be bothered in politics. But right now, for purposes of survival, where you're earning a good salary effortlessly, politics is the only place.
I mean, Dr. Mai, we look at stagnant wages. And right now, you can hardly hear an organization saying, okay, you know what? We've looked at your performance. We want to increase your salary. With this economy, it's not really happening. Even bonuses, the institutions where ordinarily in the past years, because of good performance, the reviews will be done and people get bonus. Today, it's not happening. And I'm even speaking about KRA. They used to get bonuses. Now they're not even getting bonuses. Then there's the question of rising taxes. When these two happen, and this is for salaried people, then it's shrinking what then you'd call the middle class. Atujaguza mamamboga, mtabodaboda bado. So we are having a shrinking middle class because people are losing jobs. Those who had permanent jobs are now getting contracts. Those ones who were earning salaries, expecting every year that there will be a review, it's the same. But the cost of living is still going up. Taxes on this other side, they're still going up. So you are still in this same house. For example, you are renting this house for, let's say, 50,000. But the 50,000 you could afford 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago would be different. You still have the same salary, but then, like you're saying, the cost of everything around is going up. So what does this mean, translate in terms of purchasing powers? You have people manufacturing products. You have people who are doing imports. Give us an overview how the trickle-down effect, when you don't have purchasing power, then how it ends up affecting the people who are in manufacturing, people who are producing, to the farmers, we're talking about agriculture, and how then eventually it affects the economy.
Consumption drives production, because you must consume so that the industry has to produce. What is happening is that, and you mentioned it, which is true, that the middle class, those are people who drives consumption. If you throw back to what Kibaki did successfully, is to enlarge the middle class, who now drove a lot of consumption and a lot of production, and the ecosystem thrive. What is happening now, we have that the government, especially on taxation, keep on taxing the same people more and more. So what means is that what you are taking home keep on shrinking. And when it shrinks, then therefore, is that it's eroding your purchasing power. The industries that have been producing, they don't produce more because people are not buying. So the issue of bonuses now becomes the issue of survival. That you just want to keep your establishment. Otherwise, the alternative is very expensive because you may be persuaded to lay them off. So that is why any other company, institution in the country, is that what it's doing is to maintain the establishment so that you don't have to take that decision. Otherwise, those people who are, we call them the payroll, because that is where you get there's a lot of taxation. Mm-hmm. And when you keep on taxing, you are saying that, and we normally say taxation, you cannot grow the economy organically through taxation. Mm. What you do is that you create a conducive environment for those who are in the business and investors to come and invest and create opportunities. Today, our taxation regime is not even predictable, because in every other year, we may have what we call the finance bill or the finance act. Like now, we are looking forward for the finance act, the finance bill 2026. And we don't know what is going to tinker into the taxation regime. Meaning, if you want to invest, you'll be saying, which way do I go? However, if the government taxation regime was predictable, therefore, you'll be able to plan for your resources, even your payroll. So I think that is the biggest aspect. But before it goes from my mind, I want to say to add what Omai was talking about. and you are the one who asked about this agreement about European Union. I think we should always start with the end in the mind, because Europe and other jurisdiction is equality and standard. So the producers of beef, of mutton, from Kajiado, if you go to the households, are there any quality protocols that you are being told when you have this livestock, what is that you must do so that you be able to sell it to the European market? Or is it just what we are calling, was it immunization? What was it? Vaccination. Is vaccination equal to quality? And then what other steps? And if you look at our sector, Okari, why don't we progress? Because we lack standardization and quality control.
Why? Because this is my question. Why is there a lack of that? Because we've already made it very clear here that what is going to actually raise the economic profile of a nation is not government.
No.
The nations of the world today that are thriving are built heavily on an SME sector. That it is the private companies who have come out and that they have built the economy on the work that they have done. But this comes on the back of a conducive environment having been created by government to allow that happen. The people who make the potato crisps that are eaten all around the world is not government. It's an organization. The companies that we see today who make phones, who make shoes, who make clothes, they are private companies. There might be government stake to a certain percentage, but for the majority, they're owned by individuals. They are the most successful economies in the world today are built on the back of private companies.
I agree.
Because why is it so difficult for us to make that creative or conducive environment? Why? I really don't understand. It cannot be that difficult. But I am actually at the place this morning where I have refused.
The regulation and compliance issues are driven by the regulators, which is the government. So if you don't implement that, therefore, let me, I don't know, I know you must have been there when President Moi came up with the Okari sheds. They were all over. So he was giving places where artisans would come and congregate and do their business. However, the aspect of standardization and quality control was left to the market. Meaning, and it's very sad, if you go and buy a wheelbarrow, go the following day, you tell the same guy, please do it another for me. It will be different. So we are not able to standardize. And that is not the private sector to do. It is the regulators who come with the protocol that you must follow so that you are, and that is what China does. That you give the enterprise, but you have these regulation aspects and protocol, quality control, so that you must comply.
Let me. There's so many talking points in my head right now because when you talk about standardization regulation, there was a study that was done in terms of comparing regulation and what we have in our policy documents to other nations, and Kenya was ranked at the very top there. It's up there. Mm-hmm. So in documents we have very, very good regulation. We have KEBS, for example. If you look at the lists of the things that are in there, then you go now to the ground. How they say vitukwa ground in the different. It then brings the question of enforcement. Is the problem that we don't have these standards somewhere, or we don't know about them, or is the issue enforcement?
There you go.
And I want to rope in Justina on this because I remember there was a time I visited this country, I'll not mention, and we were having a conversation and they were saying they had started taking imports from Kenya on avocados. Mm-hmm. Then they stopped. And I asked why. And I was told because of poor standards. Mm-hmm. Then digging deeper later, reports that were coming out is that farmers were actually harvesting these avocados when they were still immature. Mm-hmm. So it's the whole issue of taking shortcuts because the doors opened, you can export. But then you go kwa shamba, you harvest those ones that are still immature, you put them in a box and you still want to export, forgetting that these trickeries that can work locally where somebody can't tell, hii avocado imeiva kweli, yes mama, hii avocado imeiva, unaweza kula jioni. Then you take this, unafinya, that's how you test. Then you go home, this avocado for 1 week, nothing is happening to it. It is hard as a stone. 2 weeks, it is hard as a stone. I've done experimentations where I've gone to a supermarket, bought bread. I've done investigative stories on these things. You buy a loaf of bread, put that loaf of bread on top of the table, leave it there. Mukate yozi, 3 days, the thing is still there, it's okay. 1 week, it's gone past its sell date, but the thing is still there. You go to our meat products, the ones that you've mentioned. The meat products are laced with a lot of preservatives that this same meat, actually, the more it's aging, the more it looks, the more red it looks, and the better the fresh it looks. And there are challenges around this. And Justina, what really then is it government? Because we can say government is not doing this, government is not doing that. But we've had a baraza here where there was a mama mboga who said, look, I can't buy onions from which place is this? Nakuru, Nanyuki, Naivasha, Narok. Yeah. I have to go all the way to Tanzania. So the onions that we're consuming, and in fact, a lot of people, when you go to the market, those who know, Tanzania. So they know the selling point is it's just in Tanzania. People will buy because they trust the standards there. Better that what really is the issue?
I believe enforcement comes with incentives. When you see Kenyans cutting corners, because I think it comes to the cost of production is high. But I want to blame leadership because our leadership, or rather the people who are in the positions to influence, I'm always insisting there's a difference between a politician and those ones who are elected to be in a position to influence and shape policies and legislations. What are they doing? The only thing they like doing is going on the ground, giving borders, being seen that they're on the ground. But that is where they're supposed to come and ask, these are the regulations, these are the opportunities for Kenyans. What are we meant to do as government in terms of incentives and enforcement? So when you look at a Kenyan who says, I'm going to be in the business of onions, fertilizer, they're telling us fertilizer, the cost has gone down. But in addition to fertilizers, there's the issue of we are a rain-fed agriculture country. What have we invested in terms of water? In terms of even the labor, you have Kenyans themselves, we are thieves. I've been employed as a farmhand, I'm stealing from my boss. So when we say creating a conducive environment, what do we really mean? It means our factors of production must be disordered. So it comes from Kenyans not understanding. Those ones when we are voting in people who are supposed to influence and shape policies and legislations that should make life easier for us. We only vote for people who, when you ask a Kenyan, where are you voting for? Alikuja matanga, alisimama na sisi. But is that the role of that person? The role of that person is when they sit down and they're coming up with, they're even sponsoring a bill. They're saying today we are dealing with onions. The issue is even the skuma wikis, they're being planted along the sewer line. When you ask this farmer, why are you doing this? This one is saying, I'm looking for money. But where are you doing it really? I don't have land to do it. The sewer line is the only place that is available for me to do it. Do you care about other Kenyans? No, me, I'm out for money. It's about even how you craft your policies that should speak to the hearts and minds of Kenyans. So the ones in those positions do not really understand their role, which I believe government should not even be involved in issues of going on the ground, in issues of business. There's a time the president told us we're going to invest in a studio, and I was left wondering, where is the fate of Standard Group? If you're doing studios, that should be Standard Group's problem. Let us give them incentives, let them be able to buy those equipments that government is saying is going to invest. So I think government should realize that it should even, your work is less than investing generally. Your work is policy, your work is incentives, your work is, we are enforcing, yes, but these are the incentives you have given you. So I think the problem goes to the mismatch of people not understanding. But we have to ask ourselves, why do Kenyans cut corners? Maybe the Tanzanian onions, the incentives that government has given them for doing things the right way. As we end up punishing, but have you really ever asked yourself, what is the incentives, even having this smart on? What are these incentives that government has given farmers? That, you know what, we are going to, maybe it's animal feed, the right quality, but they have never had the conversation. They're always telling us, this person is not doing the right thing. But you, what policy incentives are you giving them? Something else you'd also ask, Dennis, is that the middle class has shrinked. But remember, the workforce that we have, according to data, is 24 million. But those ones who are in formal employment are 3 million. So government realizes, let me just overtax the 3 million. They are again lazy. How can you make this 24 million also be part of nation building, be part of the taxes, be part of paying the debt? We remember 3 million out of 24 million. I think that's a drop in the ocean, and that's why the middle class is shrinking. Government, should look at when we are saying creating a conducive environment. It's the factors of production. No, not all of us want to be employed, but if there's research, there's innovation, there's that latitude that you can have your idea from primary school, or even when we go for this, I don't know whether they call them science congress these days. Where do we have those competitions? I believe if we had taken the idea forward that this school has won, private sector would be there to invest on that idea.
Well, somebody said there's a young gentleman who actually came up with the idea of building an aircraft. He flew, it went up a few meters, then it went down. Police came and arrested him for trying to commit suicide.
Enforcement, but no incentives. So we are out to punish without incentivizing. That is our tragedy.
In fact, we have a little a case study. The AGOA. If you look at AGOA, what is so different of turning our Okari sector mirroring the AGOA concept model? Just because the AGOA model complies, has standards, has protocols. There is the drive and for them to do that. So I think I keep saying what I call theory of change. The government or the leadership, sometimes they don't understand what we call the theory of change. For example, what is that we call economic empowerment? We are persuaded as politicians to stop at the output level or the activity level. But the theory of change goes all the way until when you get the change. Why would politicians celebrate giving borders? Whereas we know that any other business, 95% of business dies on 6th month. So what is that which the government has done, or whoever is giving border to prepare these empowerment, the youth that you want to empower, so that they can go beyond? And I can predict here, most of those enterprises that's been started through empowerment, they will die on the 6 months.
So let me ask a very uncomfortable question, and we might take an affront to it because we may not want to get in touch with the reality. But then what is wrong with us? Look at the northern part of this continent, right? Many will say it's because of their proximity with Europe. That is why they have been able to imbibe the same characteristics and they're able to do well. Just look, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Egypt. Okay? Just look across board. Tell me where we see a problem of this non-compliance that we talk about. Well, let's even look at their sports. The northern countries, they don't, except for a few, they don't really go out of their countries to even play professional sports, because at the very place where they are, their countries invest in them and they do whatever they can do to ensure that they rise up. Then you want to go to the southern part of the country and of the continent, and you want to look into South Africa, and you want to look into Botswana, and you want to look into Namibia, and the things that they have been able to do because they have insisted on a system. However, the people who are the drivers of those companies also, again, will have their links to where? To Europe. Look at China and look at the eastern side of the world. What did they say? They looked at this poverty thing and they said, you know what, guys? Enough is enough. We are going to come up with a plan and we are going to stick to the plan. All this, I'm sorry, Dr. Gashie, all these things that we talk about, standardization, regulation, we don't have the ability to standardize and we don't have the ability to insist on quality assurance. Do they have two heads? These people in Europe, these people in the East, these people in the South. Do they have two heads? They're human beings like us. But they're able to get a system in place, set regulation and standards, and keep the standard. And you know what? Where they don't keep the standard, we get rid of you and bring somebody who will keep, if not surpass the standard. So I go back to my original question. What is wrong with us? It's actually not an academic question.
No.
Basic one.
I will paraphrase a book by Chinua Achebe called The Trouble with Nigeria. And he said, the trouble with Nigeria, and now I'll put Kenya, is simple and purely that of leadership. And the book says that when General Murtala Mohammed took over government, the traffic in Lagos disappeared. Meaning, the psyche itself and what people perceive about the leadership changes everything. It's about our values, integrity. You know, if our values celebrates cutting corners, that is it. You know, what do we do with the people who are corrupt? What do? We put them in a position of leadership. Is that the same person whom becomes a leader within the sector where you want regulation, standardization, and quality control, and you want him to offer leadership? So until we change our values, our integrity, then I would say we are poor because we are poor. It's nothing about the regional positioning of our country. Why do I say that? Go to Namibia, go to South Africa. I've been there. Go to Malawi, go to all those West Africa. I do a bit of assignment there. You get Kenyans driving successful enterprises.
The man who came up with the blueprint for the metro system in London is a Kenyan.
It's Professor. He's called Professor.
So what happens when you?
I'll get the name.
So what happens when you remove the person from that system? What's wrong?
And he's the same guy who is consulting the metro in Dubai.
Yeah.
So I'll get the name. It's called Professor Washington Salmon. So it's about
Okoh.
It's about. I'll give a name. I think I have it in my back of my mind. So it is our values, simple integrity issues, nothing else. It's not about our middle name, Dennis. It is our.
You know, it's so sad. This morning, Ndo and I were just having a casual conversation, and you're talking about education. And you know, we were saying, you look at standards of education today, what you're subjecting our children to. And both of us are saying, you know what? If you're to look for another country to take children, you'd rather take them to another country where education works. All these people who are in charge of these offices, including the CSs themselves, all their children, none of them is going to CBC. Most of these ones have their children in Australia. Everyone was money. You get to a position of power, the first thing, make sure your kids are out of this country. Take them to South Africa, take them to the UK, take them to the US. Nobody is taking their children to our local schools here. And how then do we reboot or reset? Because it almost feels like we've been in this cycle for far too long, and things are getting worse. The young who are now rising up, I've seen what the adults are doing. Now you have schools that are striking and doing things that ordinarily in previous years, you at the mention of the name of this particular school, you think discipline, structure, very well kept. You are almost guaranteed. You take your child to this school, there is even a fight to get a position there. You're guaranteed that at the end, this child will become something in society. Today, they're the ones who are running riot, they're striking. The values have really dropped over everything, cutting corners. There was a conversation we were having another day with somebody here who was saying, you know, look, it almost feels like every day somebody goes into these offices in government, they're thinking, where do we make money today? What system can we come up with? What can we change? What can we introduce? All because there's a tender somewhere, there's an issue of procurement. This needs to go to this company A. Justina, how do we reboot?
How do we reboot? And if I can just connect to that, if we are not those in the world who are prospering economically, they make things. They do. What do we make as African countries? What do we make as Kenya? Don't tell me flowers, because they're in the ground. They grow. They come out. What do we manufacture? Don't tell me about oil in Nigeria. It's in the ground. You got it there when you arrived. What do we make that is going to get a surplus that will then begin to grow? We don't make anything.
Yes.
This is the problem.
Why we don't manufacture, I again insist, it goes back to our factors of production. Dennis, today you say, I have an idea, I want to go into manufacturing. I'm telling you, before you get approval, there's a CS somewhere who will ask for money, and that's why you see companies running away, because they ask for bribery. There are so many red tapes when you want to start a company. Maybe you want to buy land for that place, you're conned of 200 million. You see, our factors of production are not right, and that is why I always insist, if we are to move forward as a country, we must order the disorders in our factors of production. When you talk about the quality of education and the standard, I think what is affecting the generation, our time used to be told, when ukisoma utapata kazi nzuri. Right now, there is no motivation for you to go to school. People are saying, I've seen my cousins, I've seen my brother, they were first class honors, they are still at home. So people are no longer seeing the value. The younger generation is no longer seeing the value of education. And that is why I've always insisted, I don't even think it's about the curriculum. We should link our education to our economy. Where do we want to go in the next 30 years? Who do we need? Which skills do we need? So that when we are pushing that agenda, we are saying, if it's doctors, we have to have these skills, this skill set. If it is architects, anything. Let us look at from the end in mind, as Dr. said. What is our end? In the next 30 years, we want to be here as a country. And that when you even talk about China realized, speaking about the camel, their bend was overpopulation. What did they say? Let us have our strategy, belt and road and belt. They come into Africa. Where are they investing in that? They have realized we cannot deal with our overpopulation, but we can go and use our skills in other countries. That is when we say linking our education to the economy. Kenya should look back and ask, what is our competitive edge? China's competitive edge is the road and belt. So that then they realize we're investing in this, and that's why you see even this Talanta Stadium. You hear that even prisoners from China are part of the labor force, because for them they're focusing, if we are to achieve or rather deal with our bend, which is overpopulation, then even our labor includes the wafungwas who are eating our money. You know, as a prisoner, you're eating taxpayers' money as food. Then pay for it. Use your labor to pay for it. So what we lack is that vision. But I'll also say, what is our problem? I've looked around and I've realized this conversation we've always had, the national cake. People are saying, oh, these people are entitled, these people are doing this. Have we ever stopped to ask ourselves, if there's a national cake, was it there miraculously? Did anyone bake it? Have you been part of baking that cake? What were the ingredients? Do we even have a cake now, 62 years after elections? Are we after independence? Do we really have a cake right now? So the conversation should be, are we baking a cake or cooking ugali? What we have in this country is politicians or people who are in those positions to influence and shape policies who focus on spending. Then you'll hear even your MCA telling you need to wajangia barabara. Then they're just focusing on spending. They should be telling us how much or what are they going to do to increase the wealth of the nation through factors of production. So when we move away from thinking there's a national cake, an elusive cake somewhere, towards now we are baking that cake or cooking a ugali to make it Kenyan, then we will start thinking ideas beyond spending. So our issue is the national cake.
Dr. Geshe, there's somebody here, Langatum Simakweli, who says, for example, Kenyatta University engineering students during COVID period designed the best and cheapest ICU bed, which which can be massively manufactured and even exported to other nations. Government killed the idea. So it's not lack of innovation. We have a lot of young people who are in the tech space, very brilliant minds. There is even a conversation the other day as we were heading into the election, and they were saying, look, we need to rethink because of all these billions that are going into this electoral process. Let's think of blockchain. It's technology. Why can't we be the first? The same way we were first with M-Pesa. Why can't we be first to come up with this idea? But nobody pays attention to anybody who has any innovative mind. Is it that we have shut down? And if Geshe today comes and he says, I have an idea that is going to improve the quality of water, we can actually change this salty bowl water into fresh water by using this that is going to be so cheap. What shuts us down? And again, back to that question of reboot. How do we reboot? We have to think of solutions.
It is because for go innovation, because we want to make money. I'll give an example. Currently, we are talking about the fourth and the fifth industrial revolution, which is going to be driven by technology. So where are we as the leadership? Because that is where the world is headed. So what is a policy? Do we even have a policy? Do we even have have you started thinking about now, because we are being overtaken on the 4th industrial revolution, we are headed on the 5th. Number 2, how then, said about the leadership, where would we have a system for share for 104 billion, where we have universities who call themselves technological universities of Kenya, of Nairobi, and whatever? Why don't we give challenge to those students to give us a solution? Talking about Kenyatta University and the ICU, where are we going to get money if you're not going to import 200 billion worthy of hospital equipment and technology? You know, it's what we talked about is our ethical issues, our values, and what we're not, and the elephant in the room here, corruption. You know, because
it's almost become a curriculum.
It's actually, you know, it is so much institutionalized that even when you go to an office and you are served well, and that guy didn't ask you for anything, you pinch yourself. You think you have landed planet Mars, because it is so normal that even when you get that which you are entitled, free service, you go back and say, look, actually those are the stories that we tell when you're doing coffee. That you remember, you know, I went to this office. It's not in Kenya. Well, you are supposed actually to be, should be the normal, but we appreciate the abnormal. We are now saying normal is boring because how? So I think is a national psyche that we must change, that things can be done differently.
How do we change it? We know what is wrong and what is ailing us as a country. Justina said, issue of leadership, factors influencing and affecting production. We have the solutions. Then the question is how? How do we do it?
We must keep on talking to it. You know, there's no other way. Dennis, Mungai and the rest. We must speak to it so loudly so that people there start pricking their conscience if they have any. Otherwise, that is the only way, so that we keep on speaking to it so that people can appreciate what we need to be done differently. And it goes back to leadership. We must have a reset. And for me, I'm a person who believes in disruption.
Disruption in order to bring about...
Innovatively. And I think the more we disrupt, we have disruptive innovation, however small it is, it will get us there. However, our leadership believes in disruption, because if you look at the government and how it is set, it's so bureaucratic that even when you want to bring change, there's a lot of resistance from everywhere.
Sure.
Even those who will benefit from change itself. So we keep on speaking to it, and even especially sometimes I say, sadly, even the devolved units, whereby now this disruption will come because it's smaller, it keeps copying the central government, sadly. However, even there, we must keep the duty, what we came to do this morning, to enlighten people, talk to it, so that people can see the different part of it. Otherwise, when we come and agree that this is how things are supposed to be done, then we'll be in a big problem.
Is there hope as we look into it? Because one of the things that we, I think, suffer from is that we don't talk about these issues enough. So we kind of, if we ignore it, then it means it's not there. As we wind up, Justina?
I think there is hope. And the biggest conversation right now, I'm seeing Kenyans are saying, oh, in Nepal, we should do what Nepal did. But let me quickly speak about corruption. I'm of a different opinion. When we think demand and supply, then it's the only sector in this country working is politics. You're going to do everything. You're going to even sell your house to invest in that. So, so it ends up being that politics is the only lucrative thing. And the factor of production in politics is connection. That Ndu knows Dennis, so you're going to benefit. And why do people go into politics? Because they realize iko pesa kwa serikali. So you end up stealing money That money is what you're going to use to do business. How do we even get our startup capital in this country? Many people we talk about have been in politics, and that is where they have made money. So thinking demand and supply, there's over demand for political positions, and that is where you're willing, even the political connections, you're willing to have your person there, invest in a campaign so that Dennis gets there, they'll give you tenders. If all other sectors were working, Dennis, I'm telling you, we would not have over demand of people even having the cutthroat competition in politics. And that is why when you spoke about the blockchain, Article 86 unfortunately says our constitution that the elections must be verifiable. Because maybe they're thinking, to take a blockchain, we start saying, fungueni server. You see, why is it again so that it's an interest for you that lazima sawa ifunguliwe uone? We don't even trust technology because it's an issue of life and death. So maybe, this is the last minute you're giving me. And tell Kenyans, I've seen Kenyans saying Nepal has gone down, we should also do that, let us burn the country down. And tell Kenyans, before we burn the country down, let us try economic democracy, let us look at factors of production, let us look at how we fund counties, how we fund Article 43. Until we do that, there's room for change and we can give our country time. But saying we burn down the country, I highly disagree.
The way to go. Dr. Stephen Gashie is an economist, and Justina Wamai, a champion of economic democracy. Thank you for joining in this conversation this morning. Have to keep it alive. Asante, it's 8:02.
Thank you.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Kisii Governor Simbarati will lead a section of members of County Assembly from the Gusii region to meet President William Ruto today. Already both the Kisii and Nyamweya County Assemblies have adjourned their sittings to enable members to travel to Nairobi ahead of the meeting. The meeting is seen as a strategy to counter former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i's grip on the region ahead of 3 impending by-elections in Nyamweya. Now, Nyamweya Governor Amos Nyaribo, an ally of Dr. Matiang'i, who is also the UPA party leader, has been invited but is yet to decide if he'll attend. UDA party MPs led by National Assembly Majority Whip Silvanus Osoro and party treasurer Japhet Nyakundi criticized Nyaribo for declining Ruto's invite. The Judiciary has come under scrutiny over the setting of judges' allowances, with Parliament questioning why the institution continues to determine rates independently of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. In a session, the Public Accounts Committee sought answers from judicial officers led by Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Winfrida Makaya, over what legislators described as unchecked payment of billions in taxpayer-funded allowances.
In the Parliamentary Service Commission is comparable.
Are you sure? Or is that
Yes.
Are you sure?
You know, at what point were you using SRC rate before? Have you ever used SRC rate before? Let me say no. The Judicial Service Commission interpreted their mandate as provided for under 172 vis-a-vis Article 230. You're coming to tell us they are yet to be approved. You are going through the stages and you are busy implementing a car mortgage scheme. Why are you defying the law?
You see, MOU is a gentleman's agreement and you're talking of 5 billion. What happens if KCB tells you, my friend, you don't have money here?
There has been a misnomer on that issue of the legal framework. And that is why for the past 2 years, we have made efforts to ensure that we regularize and have the legal framework.
During the heated PAC, that is PAC session at Parliament buildings, MPs questioned why the Judiciary continues to set its own allowance rates independently of SRC benchmarks, despite the constitutional mandate that SRC regulates public officers' pay. Legislators argued that while the Judiciary is independent, its autonomy should not extend to unchecked financial decisions that could burden taxpayers.
Let now that letter from National Treasury also come out, if it is there at least, to say that National Treasury also breaks the law and they assist and aid institutions to break the law, because that's basically what the accounting officer is telling us.
So don't bow too much to the Supreme Court judges and the Chief Justice. Follow the law, or else it's you who will be hanged, not them. You are making this lady to come and sit here too because of this very basic. Even Form 4, Form 2, Those who learn business education can do this thing.
And in the international scene, Israeli air strikes hit the media operation of Yemen's Houthi rebels on Wednesday, killing and wounding an unspecified number of people. A large plume of grey smoke billowed above Sana'a as the sound of strikes echoed across the city, controlled by the Iran-backed Houthis for more than a decade. The Israeli military said it struck Houthi rebel targets in Yemen, including in Sana'a, in the latest of a series of attacks during Gaza war. That's the news wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state of, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that...
Statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing police of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations.
Conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state of, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is not...
Like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
A very good morning at 11 minutes past 8 o'clock, the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning, the Situation Room. Good morning and welcome to Thursday. And we're going to be looking at a number of things this hour, even as we get into it. And both our guests are seated in the Situation Room this morning. And as we are getting into it, our audience on KTN, good morning. And everybody who keeps clicking into the room, our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. All right, we're going to get into it. And it is media freedom and accountability. That conversation about striking the balance is what we're doing this morning. And joining us, both of our guests are here. Polly Gathoni is the Vice Chair of the Media Complaints Commission. Good morning, Polly.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana. Thank you for being here. And I feel as though we've been here with her all morning. Eunice Nganga Salisbury is an advocate of the High Court. Eunice, good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Thank you for having me.
Well, good to see you, and thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
So, as we get into a conversation today, just before we do, Dennis is going to tell you where in the African continent he has been this week. Polly is smiling.
I'm laughing because Polly's like, oh my God,
bring it
here we go.
And interpretation is what we're asking for both of you. All right, go ahead.
Well, let me maybe soften this by taking you to this country. We're facing north, so this is a country which we normally say boasts as the world's oldest civilization. Just the Great Pyramids. You already know the country I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But the fun fact is, this country is the one that invented the 365-day calendar. Mm-hmm. They also invented, guess what? Toothpaste.
Really?
Yeah. So Egyptians started brushing their teeth long before everybody else.
Oh, okay.
We only caught up with it. They also came up with board games. These are very, very, very smart people.
Like snakes and ladders.
Yes. And that's why whenever you see animals in some of these games, you'll trace the roots back to it. So we're talking about Egypt. So the proverb today is, the camel cannot see the bend in its own neck. The camel cannot see the bend in its own neck. How do you interpret that?
I think it's like
Polly is looking to the heavens for divine.
Yeah, not really. I think for me it's like the way we say a barber cannot shave himself or herself.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, if you're the media, you're the people who hold people to account. It's hard to retrospect on yourselves and tell yourself where are we going wrong. It would take somebody else to maybe let you know that.
Like Polly. Polly's already told you what she's come to do today.
She's gone straight to it, actually.
For the jacket, in this case, for the neck.
Interesting. Eunice?
I'd say almost the same thing, but use the Kiswahili one, nyani haoni kundule. Because the camel cannot see the bend, which is like its fault. But that's exactly what happens to us. We are so focused on ourselves, we do not see where we fall short, and we actually think we are right all the time. Mm-hmm. So I'd agree with Polly that it's an equivalent of, every other person can see where I'm bending, but I think I'm just having a long neck.
Well, seems like it's a proverb that fits our conversation.
Apparently. And even for us to open up that conversation, let's just get off from where Polly started. In terms of the work that we do, and then, of course, broadening this just a little bit, the work that we do, and when it comes to then media freedom and accountability. Mm-hmm. When we look at media freedom around the world, it is not what we see today is not what it was even 10 years ago, or 20, or 30, or 50. And that we know that there are governments who have used their power or the authority that they wield as governments of nations to then curtail the messages that can come from media. Where media is widely accepted in many a country as the fourth estate, the kind of three monkeys on a wall, and then the fourth monkey is maybe separated from the other three, but essentially is doing its watchdog work. That's what the media has come to be accepted as in many nations of the world. Now, in terms of the freedom of the press, it's something that has been still being fought till today in very many jurisdictions. But whereas the time gone by that media would be gagged from speaking out about certain things, Kenya to an extent enjoys some of this freedom. But now when we start to ask the questions about what you can say, how you can say it, when you can say it, about whom you can say it, and why you can say it, when we start to ask questions about that, does it come from the place whereby perhaps the messages that come out are unpalatable? Or is it still in a place where we are still trying to remain or retain some kind of balance in our reporting? I'll start with you, Polly.
Thank you. Media freedom and media independence in Kenya is guaranteed in our constitution. So it's something that we fought for. We got it, and we are here to safeguard it. When it comes to the issues of responsible media, where you have to strike the balance, because what are the interests? There could be political interests that push on one side, maybe commercial interests, and they may hinder the true independence and freedom of the media. As the Media Complaints Commission, we draw the line. Who is pushing who too far off the boundary? Because the Complaints Commission is the one that has mandate to enforce the code of conduct for the practice of journalism. And when we say enforcement, the whole entire goal is to ensure the media is accountable, to ensure that there are high standards of the media practice. Media freedom, when it's exercised with moderation and with responsibility, ensures that then the public can trust the media. When media is trusted by the public, it means it is empowered. An empowered media is what can only hold the power or the powerful to account. If you are, as a media, if you are not empowered, you would not have the energy to hold anyone to account, even including the powerful. The Media Complaints Commission then is constituted under Media Council Act of 2013 to be able to mediate and adjudicate on complaints that come from the media, between the government and the media, between the public and the media, and intra-media disputes. It does this by ensuring high standards and that the media is adhering to the code of conduct for the practice of journalism. So we draw the line. Yeah.
Okay. Where should it... Do you think, Eunice, that because of that place that has been, accorded media in spaces, that you then should be able to report on anything and push a particular agenda so long as it is based on fact and truth?
I'll start. Let me say first yes to your question, and then go back to your earlier question where you're asking, where are we in terms of media freedom? Do we feel that we are in the right place? We are able to exercise media freedom as envisioned in the Constitution, or do we still have a very long way to go? And for me, I'd say Rome was not built in one day. We've come a very long way in media freedom. We are not there yet, but since the Constitution 2010 and the governments that we have had, I'd say we've made great strides in media freedom, but we are not there in terms of the question you asked about what do you report, how do you package it? Because when governments start to direct media on exactly how to frame your headline, for example, who you can talk about, how you can talk about them. That means we have not arrived at the aspiration of the provision of media freedom. We are heading there, though, and that's why this constitution calls on you and I to rise up and defend it. If we feel that we are going towards our aspirations, but there is an obstacle that's coming along, it's a duty that we rise up and speak up. We will get there, but we won't get there by keeping quiet when we encounter obstacles. If we feel the government is encroaching on media freedom and we keep quiet, then we will not get to the aspirations of media freedom that are in the Constitution. So I'd say we are not there. We are headed there. But we have a duty. For us to get there, it won't just happen. We have to speak up, speak out, so that we can progressively get to where we want to be.
I mean, Polly, I hear what Eunice is saying, and I think you started off from that point of, drawing the lines, but then at the same time, there is what is enshrined in the Constitution. And, well, Kenya's Constitution then guarantees and protects freedom of expression and media. And we have seen time and time again, and like Eunice is saying, Rome was not built in one day. We've consistently kept seeing we make 2 steps forward, we take 3 backwards. So there's a lot of push and pull. And the issue that I have here is, while the Constitution as a document, which is alive, guarantees those freedoms and also for the media, it also places limits on the same. And this is where they will invoke national security. Which, again, is subject to anyone's interpretation. As they say, the law is very clear. But to one person, it's clear. To another person, it's not clear. Something else. Yeah. Yes. So there's national security. There is public order. There are even issues of morality. At this point where we are as a country, how do we interpret these limits without then having a government of the day weaponizing the same against its own people and against the media? The issue is interpretation. And you're talking about not going over the boundaries. Who then dictates that this is the boundary and this is not the boundary?
There is no blurriness in that line. It is very bright. And it goes back to the code of conduct for the media practice. That is your Bible. That is our Bible. That is the Bible for media enterprises, for the journalists. If you take the boxes of the code of conduct for media practice, right now we have the new revised code. We used to operate under the 2013 code of conduct for the practice of journalism. But to be able to be alive to the current issues like AI-generated content and stuff like that, we have a new, or rather a revised code of conduct. And that, for me, should be your true north. There should be no vagueness on what you should report. Yes, the Constitution guarantees media freedom and independence of the media, and the limits in terms of hate speech are there. When it comes to where do you draw the line, it's in terms of accuracy and verification of what you are reporting. And you cannot say that there are two truths or what is half truth. Truth is truth, and it stands like day and night. There is no two way about it. There is the issue of fairness and accountability. Yes, mistakes can happen in reporting. And if a complaint is raised, the media should be able to ask itself, did we publish the correct information? And if not, an apology then can go hand in hand. And if the members of the public or the government, they are aggrieved by the media, they cannot, or they are not expected by law to prosecute this in the streets of social media. Okay? There are avenues provided by law okay, you are grieved by today's headline. Ranting about it on social media will not help, because there are mechanisms that have been put by law to bring your complaints to the commission. Anyone can lodge a complaint to the commission. We have a procedure, we have a process on how we process these complaints, and the commission speaks through its decisions, okay, which are usually properly analyzed between the facts, the law, in the context of media and the environment. So for me, the line is very clear. There is no vagueness.
Eunice, is the line clear?
No, it is not. I want to disagree because, like you said, it's subject to interpretation. Who is interpreting it? And the problem with interpretation is most people want to interpret the law and the rules and regulations to their advantage or to how they can benefit from them. So in terms of what is the guide, yes, we have the Constitution, we have the regulations, then we have the limits in government through the checks and balances. But because each of us wants to interpret to the law and the regulations to our advantage, it can't be that clear. So that would be my first point. My second point is there's no one way of dealing with the limits. If, for example, the media is following its code of conduct, but the executive or the government is of the opinion that they are overstepping, you can't really dictate to the executive that, no, you can't do anything except come to the Complaints Commission first. Neither can you tell the media or the public, you can't go on social media or you can't do this other thing. You have to come to the Complaints Commission first. So it's not that clear. Let me also first say that going on social media, going in the streets protesting is all a part of addressing the excesses, particularly on the side of the public and the media. We cannot say that for us, as the public, our only avenue is the Complaints Commission following the laid down procedures, because part of our rights is demonstrating, picketing, and raising petitions. There is no prescribed mode of protest, so that we say me ranting on social media is not allowed or is not useful. It's actually very useful, and I depart with Pauline on that. It is very useful for people to speak up and speak out on social media, in the streets, everywhere, as long as you're within the confines of the limitations of expression and speech. You do not go beyond your rights to affect the rights of other people, and you do not go abusive. You're not abusive. You're not encouraging or having incitement, propaganda for war or destruction or violence. As long as you remain within those limits, you're free to express your disappointment, your disagreement, your protest, your objection in any way, form, or shape. The other thing I wanted to point out, I hope it's not escaping my mind, I'm losing my track of thought, is that if we say this is how we need to respond to an issue of government excess, or this is how the government should act in terms of when they are aggrieved, then we still limit the rights.
How so?
Because you're just confining them to, right now, if you have an issue with the media as government, the only way for you to react is to go to the Media Complaints Commission. That's not the only way. The government, we've seen many other ways that it does is uses its executive power, switches off, media off air. They have other ways they can do that except just come to the complaints. If the government is actually aggrieved in such a way, like it feels there's a threat to security, it won't have time to come and follow your process. If the public feels the executive has overstepped, for me personally, my first thought is not let me talk to write formally to the Media Council, because that would be now, again, limitation of our rights to expression and freedom. And on the side of government, it would be curtailing their executive power.
Do you think that media is an agenda setting, or should be an agenda setting authority?
To respond to that, let me just say that what Eunice is saying is right. It's okay to go on social media and express yourself in whichever way that you feel aggrieved. However, if you want remedy, then you have to take it further. It will take more than just citing your grievance or your issues there. It will take maybe lodging a complaint. It does not necessarily mean it has to be the Media Complaints Commission. You can also go to court. Most of the ethical issues you find or breaches to the code, there is usually a fine line also with defamation. And you find that some cases will actually go straight to court. But the Media Complaints Commission is also guided by the provisions of Article 159 on alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. And we say we are usually the first point of call you come to if you are aggrieved by the media. It is within your right to protest, to write on your socials that you are unhappy about this. But if you need a remedy, a tangible remedy that is enforceable, then you will have to file a complaint, because the commission does not move itself. It has to be moved. To your question, does the media set the agenda? Should it? It should. And why not? Your role in the society cannot be underestimated. You inform people about what is going on. Most of the things that come to light to the public, they wouldn't know if it were not for the media. Matters pertaining to public interest must be imparted on the public. The public must be informed. They must be informed truthfully. And this is the other thing. Most of the time you'll find an issue probably that is trending on the socials. But believe you me, at the end of the day, the media that is trusted, that is the fallback for the public to go and check, oh, I'm seeing this being said. Is this true? And it's for the media enterprises to ensure that they are the go-to media enterprises who is trusted in this sphere of information in a world full of misinformation, deepfakes, AI-generated content, voices. Your voice could be somewhere right now saying something that you're not aware about it.
As it has, yeah.
The question then the public ask themselves, who do we go to? Msema kweli ni nani? And that is the differentiation with a professional media and a media that is not professional.
You know, if we look at standards and global standards, there is what then you can call putting your house in order. Locally, you set your house rules, that this is what we do in our house. But in comparison to the neighbors, what is everybody else doing? Now, global human rights instruments like Article 19 of the ICCPR, to which Kenya is actually a signatory, protect freedom of expression and access to information. Because we've talked about freedom of expression, where the limits are, where the borderlines are, but there is also this other element of access to information. The public cannot, without the media, in this case, whether it's social media, whether it's mainstream media, traditional media, whatever you might call it, if I want to know today what's happening in Kisumu, I need access. I I can either take a flight for 5 minutes, 50 minutes, I'm in Kisumu, to figure out what's going on there, or I can sit in Nairobi, try to look for this information. I've heard something has happened in Kisumu. We lost a lawyer this week, and the thing happened in the evening. But by night time, people are still asking, so who exactly is this person? People are speculating on social media. People want to know, who is this lawyer? Because names are being dropped. Now, where people then go to is they go to what you call the traditional media to authenticate trusted media to understand, so this is actually then what happened. Now, we've had a situation here where we currently, like Eunice was saying, there are moments when somebody then can use or weaponize, take advantage of what you are doing or saying when they're in a position where it's to their advantage. But if they're crossing to the other side, they will be the first people who are going to fight for you. We had protests this year, and this was a spillover of what happened with the finance bill protest last year. And there was a moment when we were shut down. All right? So then people couldn't tell, okay, what's going on around the country. My question is, when governments then block or censor or control or shut down media, obviously they limit the citizens' right to information. Now, people lose access to independent reporting. And the reason why we do these things as journalists, it's not to cause mayhem by highlighting the violence that people are witnessing on the streets. It's for accountability and transparency. It's because media plays a watchdog role then, because during protest, we document police conduct, government response. If it were not for the media, we would not have known the story of Bernard Kariuki. We would not have known the issues of, and all these things were captured. From last year's protests, cameras captured police officers doing these things. So my question then is, with our current landscape, do we even have a balance? Or today, somebody in government can feel like, okay, these people this morning, these things they're discussing, we need to shut this situation down now. And they actually shut it now and just do it.
There is balance. And I think the court pronounced itself and keeps pronouncing itself on such issues where there is an overstep, especially by the government. And I think what everyone is looking for, because the media will try to inform as much as it can for the public to be informed on public issues or public interest issues. And we may have maybe the government feeling there is an overstep by the media. Instead of arbitrarily just shutting down a station or arresting a journalist, then it behoves on the government to use the systems that are there to prosecute their issue. And they say, in terms of ethical practices or responsible media, this media station has overstepped its mandate.
According to whom? According to the mandate set about by the law? Or is there a mandate that can be created by people's minds and their perceptions?
The code of conduct, the code of conduct for the practice of journalism, it's your code.
I know what our code is.
And therefore,
can somebody who doesn't abide by that code say that the media is not following or achieving or staying by its mandate?
And that is why the Complaints Commission is there. To look at your complaints, to say, to look at, you be the government in this case would be the complainant. Because in every grievance, you must ask yourself, who is the complainant here? What are they complaining about? Then you, as the respondent, the media house, the journalist, you are called on the table, maybe to articulate the accuracy of this issue. If the government is saying maybe there was biasness or it was unfair, the headline was not attributing the content therein, it's the work of the Media Complaints Commission to look at the matter at hand and come up with a decision. And in this case, there are many remedies that we have been given by the law.
Okay. Let me give you an example.
Yes.
Just day before yesterday, when unfortunately Wakili was murdered on Tuesday evening. By the time it was being reported by several media houses, one particular media house came under attack, and they said, "You have just said city lawyer, and this is irresponsible reporting because you have not told us who it is." Now, when I went to the School of Journalism, for the years that I went, the first thing that they tell you is that there's an element called breaking news, whereby you give the known facts at the time with all protocols being served. That means if the family in a case like this has not been informed, you cannot mention their name until they have been informed, and then you make it public information. Now, not knowing the back end of this, the public outcry is that media is being irresponsible in their reporting because you don't know who it is, and that you have thrown other people into a state of panic. Because they are unaware. Which is responsible? That I said just a city lawyer and that I didn't say the name? Or what then if it came before you and they said, "No, look, they have said without a name, they've not told us who it is, and the rest of us are here panicking"? Or do I say a name? Yes, we knew who it was. Or the media house knew who it was at that time. But the family had not been informed. Who then gets to say that this is your mandate and that you have fallen short of it? That's an example that's playing out today.
Without necessary, if that is an issue that has that could potentially land on the commission's table. So I may not directly talk to that particular issue of the lawyer, because anybody, whether it's that media enterprise or the public, could bring that case to the commission. However, when the commission sits, they are in a position to summon the journalist or and ask for evidence or witnesses or what was happening around that particular issue. If the journalist or the media house can actually attest that they were waiting to verify information, then the commission would speak through its decision to the appropriate remedy therein. But without a complaint, it would be hard to prosecute a hypothetical issue, which actually right now, maybe it's on the way to the commission or could potentially land on the commission's table. But in that case, yes, whether the journalist is right or wrong depends on the whole context. And when a matter is brought before the commission, we would have to look at the whole context, the allegations therein, the remedies being sought by the person who is complaining, and it is after that that we would speak through the decision that we make.
Okay.
I would like, thank you. I would like to tie that with what you said about the media setting the agenda. And I would like to say, yes, the media should set the national agenda. And in that say, because of your responsibility, and we can't take that away from the media, that it's an important voice as the fourth estate. It's relied on for information, education, and generally the public uses it to understand what's going on in the places that they cannot reach. So in that sense, the media has a very big responsibility to set the agenda. And because your question was, should it?
Yes.
Yes, they have that right.
Okay.
The duty comes with the right to set the agenda.
Let me push off
so
of that. Okay.
Before I lose this,
go ahead.
so that we come to this particular issue you asked, my question would be to the media, what agenda, in that case, are you setting by putting out that headline? You know your role is to report with the known facts while you wait for the known facts. But in that particular minute item of reporting, is it necessary to report at that time, or could you probably hold a little bit, because you will balance for you between what is important? Is it putting out that a city lawyer has been killed to cause anxiety to all of us? I can't tell you how many calls I got because I'm a city lawyer.
Sure.
So they want to find out, was I close? Am I the one? Probably all advocates in the city got those calls.
Indeed.
So you have to first think of your responsibility. Do I want to cause anxiety by just putting out the headline, or would I just wait a little to get the full known facts, and also for the family, the next of kin and all that to be notified? For me, in this particular instance, I'd fault the media. Why? Because there was really no urgency to report city lawyer dead. If only they had waited maybe another half hour for the family to be informed. Already there was buzz in all social media. Someone has been killed on Langata Road near Karen. Nobody was really keen at that point to just say it is a lawyer or it's a city lawyer. So if only the media could have waited half hour, maybe even an hour, doesn't matter, but for the family to be informed and all that, it would not have caused the anxiety. So in that particular instance, it's the role of the media and your duty to really weigh before you put out a headline. What agenda do you want to set? Because you have a duty to set the agenda. You also have the right to set the agenda. So the onus is on you to ask what agenda you want to set at that point. And I want to add that in thinking about that, it comes with goodwill, which answers also the question we were discussing earlier on when it comes to excesses, government, media. Where do we balance? Do we have a balance? We don't have a balance. Why don't we have a balance? Because we don't have a meeting of the minds. If collectively, as media, as public, as government, our goal is the good of our society, improvement of our civility, enforcement and enjoyment of our rights, then we won't have a clash. The balance will come. But as we stand today, we don't have a balance. And you find
there is no balance.
There is no balance, according to me, and in my view. We don't have a meeting of the minds, because what is happening is the media has its driving force. The government has its driving force. It's not the collective good and service of the people.
Is there anywhere in the world where there is a balance between media and government in terms of reporting and an agenda? The world?
I'd say there is nowhere, but the degrees vary. There are those who are ahead of us, and there are those who are behind us. So we are not there yet, and I don't think you can achieve that optimum balance, like an equilibrium of balance in terms of the rights and their achievement. Otherwise, we won't have a society as a normal society, because a normal society is that it's not perfect. So I would say, since we don't have perfection, and we are not going to have perfection, we don't have a balance, we are not going to achieve an equilibrium. What we fight for, though, is that the good overpowers the bad.
Okay. But if I may say, the opposing forces, to me, they are healthy.
Okay.
And they are necessary in the quest for a democratic environment. They are necessary, they are healthy. And that's why somebody must check either. The government must be checked, the media must be checked, and the question is, on matters media, who checks? And it's the Media Complaints Commission. Yes.
Okay.
You know, this conversation, at the risk of putting our dirty
I will bequeath you the.
Are you allowing me to?
Please.
You know, we can't run away from certain facts because there's something you brought up. Let's look at, because our media is still young, the other democracies, like Paul, you've said. So you'll find when you talk about democracy within our space, there are countries that are 200 years old and they have more experience. Let's take, for example, in the US, when you watch CNN and you watch Fox, for example, same event, same subject, but the conversations will be totally different to the extent that if you're following one or the other, your perception will be, wait a minute, something is terribly wrong here. You flip on the other side, you're thinking, wait a minute, actually it's the other side. Something is happening. And all these conversations are around who owns media. Essentially, because we can talk about self-regulation, we can talk about balance, we can talk about ethics and all this. Who sets these things? At the back of it all, there was a time in this country where FM stations, and so many of them before now, the government came in and said, look, there are a lot of people who own FM stations. They are not actually live. Somebody goes, buys a frequency, keeps it to himself. And what they found, interestingly, it was politicians who are actually buying and keeping this and selling them off later. You look at media setups across the world, their leanings, depending on who pays your salary, who owns it. And so when you talk about balance, is it even realistic? And we're not just looking at the Kenyan situation, you're just looking globally. All the big media organizations you can think of. Because there's the agenda setting, but then at the end of the day, you have to be professional. You have to balance your facts, your truths, and all these things. There is a ghost behind all this conversation that we're having here.
Thank you for saying you have to be professional.
Yes.
Because there's media, and then there's professional media.
Okay. What's the difference?
Yeah, there is a difference. I think today in Kenya we have almost over 100 radio stations. And if you look at the ownership of these radio stations, mainly they are owned by politicians. And any business enterprise has an interest behind it or has an owner behind it. And when you were talking about the interests that push the media either to gag itself, to self-censor itself, they could be commercial, they could be political. Then your call as a professional media, is to uphold the truth, verify your information, check your sources, ensure there is veracity in everything you publish. Okay? And as you do that, that does not mean you do not hold the powerful to account, and not just the powerful, the people who actually employ you. Because you have the support of the Constitution, the Media Council Act, Article 33, 34, 35, they have your back. And all they are asking for, be responsible in what you do. Uphold the code of conduct for the practice of journalism. The current code has several articles. But even if you read all of them and sing them by song, they all boil down to accuracy, fairness, proper presentation of facts, nothing more. And that's all you're being asked to. Is it okay to skew your news for clicks? That is the whole difference between you and a professional and a media person out there who does not care for what is right.
Now, here lies the challenge, and I want to bring in unison this as well. You from experience, Undu is an experienced journalist. You've covered stories. I've covered stories. The challenge with that is this. Information is currency. and it matters who actually goes to trade first. And there is an element in the newsroom we call scoop. So in the case, in the case, Eunice, you're raising about the lawyer, for example, and people are saying, why wouldn't you tell us the name?
Get it out first.
You need to go with the breaking news. So if Polly, you're a thief, and you're a public person.
Yes.
So the first thing that I will do is establish, did you really steal? The answer is yes. Then I will say, breaking news, Polly has stolen.
Before we find out.
Before we go to now other fact finding,
what
because
she stole, who from,
because it may take a week to get all the facts.
That can land you in the wrong books of the commission.
From the practice,
you know
media,
why?
I have not lied.
Yes,
I have given I have established the primary truth.
Does your code say that if you are going to mention somebody in an adverse way, you have the obligation to seek a comment from them?
Now, I was coming to that.
It's a scoop.
If I seek a comment,
because
this is what happens in this country.
Imagine what damage, even for your own sake, imagine the damage it would cause to you as a journalist or a media enterprise if you failed to just seek a comment from that person you are adversely mentioning, calling them all manner of names, and then it just turns out you are wrong.
So go to your next point.
So my next point was this. So it so happens that fine, Polly is a thief. That's the headline. Now, as a professional journalist, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to reach out to you.
Yes.
I have your phone number.
Yes.
I call you, you do not pick. I text you, you do not respond.
Fair enough.
I WhatsApp you, you blue tick me.
Good.
The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find out somebody who's close to who may have that information. The people we call sources.
Yeah.
And it's allowed in our profession. So I will quote a source or a report that then suggests that indeed you stole. So, and this happens a lot in our profession. So in trying to seek answers, people shield themselves or shut themselves out, thinking shutting themselves out means these people are not going to publish this.
And too bad. They should be educated. If you reach out, and indeed you show that you reached out as a journalist to seek a comment or a right of reply from the person you are going to mention, and they did not respond, and there is a blue tick on their WhatsApp, and there is a call log, it is enough for you to go ahead and splash the headline. It is.
Eunice doesn't like that story.
I don't mind the story.
You can call Polly a thief, then find out
find out the rest later.
Yeah. So let me begin with the scoop. I'll go back to the call of the journalists and media. What interest is driving you? And really, like we said, it's about, I want to say this has to boil down to individual calling, the conviction. The media is owned by so and so. So their political inclinations are this, and that's the agenda they want to push. The money, the pecuniary bit calls for this kind of scoop. But what's the real call? The real call is responsibility, truth, fact-finding, and setting the right agenda. The right agenda. That is what you want to do, service to the people. So do you want to just be driven by personal interests, which are many and varied, or can we trust the media to really answer to their call? If we answer to our calls, our individual calls, then we are going to be at the place I first spoke about, which is a meeting of the minds. We are all working for the greater good of society. And I set my personal interests aside for a little bit and push the greater good of the society. Because if all of us are going to be pushed by our personal interests, then we will remain with only aspirations. And you had asked the question, is this balance even achievable? we said it is not achievable. We are not going to get at an equilibrium and be at 100% balance. However, because we want the greater good to reign, can we strive? We can't really be seen to be moving away from the main agenda, which is serving the people, greater good of society, to just the scoop and the money and our politics.
Okay. There's a lot more to the story, of course. I mean, we who are, with the pen in our hands, we see things in a very, very different perspective, obviously. But at the end of the day, the greater good and information comes out through. But it's very important to have these conversations as well. And obviously, it's not the last time that we will. And I think it's necessary to pursue these conversations on a more regular basis. But we want to thank you for being here this morning. Eunice Nganga Salisbury is an advocate of the High Court. Polly Gathoni is the Vice Chair of the Media Complaints Commission. Both have been our guests this hour. Asante sana.
Asante
sana.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It's 9:01. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. President William Ruto is set to meet representatives from Kuppet, NAT and other education stakeholders at State House tomorrow. Trans Nzoia Parents Association Chair Wellington Waliaula urged them to address the existence of 33 fake schools and called for prosecution of those responsible.
Kuna kitu ambacho pia sisi kinatukera kama wazazi. Kuppet, NAT na hata chama cha wazazi. Tungumuzia mambo ya shule gushi. Sinapata mgao wa pesa. Nani anafund hizo shule? Nani ni signatories wa hizo accounts? Kwa sababu huwezi kusema kwamba kuna shule gushi na pesa sinatuma na wala ambao wamekuwa wakichukua hiyo pesa bado hatujaona mkono wa serikali ukiwafikia. Serikali ifanya halahala kufikia Monday. Pesa zote za shule za msingi na shule za upili ziwe zimepata fedha haraka iwezekanavyo.
He also raised concerns over delayed school capitation disbursements, which he says continue to hinder operations and burden head teachers.
Imekuwa ni vigumu sana walimu wetu kuendesha masuala na elimu kwa sababu ya fedha. Tunatarajia ya kwamba watakapokuwa kesho kule State House wasungumuzia swala hilo la capitation, kwa nini fedha sinachelewa na kwa nini pesa sinakuja nusu na wamalize jambo hilo once and for all. Number 2, kuanzia tarehe 26 Oktoba mambo ya mitihani inaanza. Na sisi kama wazazi tunataka kusema ya kwamba ingelikuwa ni vyema serikali iharakishe kutuma pesa hizo kwa shule.
More than 5,000 residents of Bungoma County have received productive assets under the USAID for the Child program aimed at supporting vulnerable families through education and income-generating projects. Speaking to journalists, Governor Ken Lusaka thanked USAID for stepping in to support residents, noting the government's limited financial capacity.
In Bungoma County, currently, we support 5,200 children from 2,700 households. But of course, since we started, we've supported over 12,000 children in Bungoma County from vulnerable families. And of course, a major subpopulation that we support are children affected and infected by HIV. So today, we are joined by the governor to officiate a distribution of productive assets as well as scholastic materials. Our objective is to empower caregivers to be able to meet the needs of their children without dependent on external support.
Program Lead Officer Kenneth Otieno said the initiative focuses on empowering caregivers of children living with HIV to improve care and livelihoods.
Nishukuru sana Kenneth na timu yake ya USAID kwa kazi nzuri ambayo mmetufanyia sana. Sababu najua kama serikali peke yetu hatuwezi kufanya kila kitu kwa sababu hatuna ile pesa ambayo tunasema tunaweza kutumia. Kuna mahitaji mengi sana katika kaunti hii. Kuna mambo ya afya, kuna mambo ya education, kuna mambo ya kilimo, kuna mambo mingi ambayo tunafanya kama serikali. Kwa hivyo tukipata usaidizi kutoka kwa partners kama USAID tunasema ni asante sana.
So far the program has invested over 143 million shillings and supports more than 2,700 orphans and families in the county. A woman died and her husband was seriously injured after a fire broke out in their Kisii apartment. The man reportedly lit a fire to kill bedbugs, triggering a gas explosion. The wife, Esther Catherine, was burnt beyond recognition and the husband is hospitalized with serious burns. A house help present during the incident escaped unhurt. Firefighters contained the blaze, but most household items were destroyed. In a separate incident in Karuri, Kiambu County, a 25-year-old man, Michael Kinyanjui, died after his house caught fire. The cause of fire is still under investigation. Both bodies were moved to the mortuary as police continue to investigate the matter. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing policy of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state of, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit.
The statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 10 minutes after 9 o'clock and into the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation on this Thursday. It's Justice Thursday and we're getting into that conversation right about now. An interesting one. Things started heating up when we came to the end of it, but don't worry, Dennis, you'll get your day, another day. And it will continue for us to talk about these things that are very, very important. And even as we get into our Justice Thursday conversation, Karibu, and we are talking this hour with Wageshi Wahome, who is a law tech expert. She's here with us this morning for the first time in the hot seat in the Situation Room. Good morning, Wageshi.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
It's
a bright morning.
It is a bright morning. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. And even as we start off today's conversation, as we normally do, we go around the African continent, and we've got a lot to offer. We're resource rich, as they say. We're also proverb rich and lesson rich. Dennis is going to tell you where we are this week. We'd love to get your interpretation of today's proverb.
Oh, nice.
Well, I mean, a very interesting country, historically speaking. It's a country that has more than 130 pyramids, including the largest at Giza, the only remaining ancient one of the world. They invented the 365-day calendar and the 24-hour day. They also, interestingly, created body makeup for men and women.
All right.
That's why when you watch movies and films, you'll see the men with, what do you call this, eyeliner or mascara?
Which one exactly?
The one that goes around the eye.
That's eyeliner.
Oh, eyeliner. The mascara is which one?
On the lashes. The mascara goes on the lashes.
Okay,
yes.
good. So that's why you will notice men also wearing makeup, because they actually created body makeup for both men and women, and they used moldy bread to treat wounds.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Disgusting, but it worked.
But it works apparently.
Yes, it worked. Cats were revered.
Yes.
And are still revered. And when we talk about beauty and makeup, they were doing it for aesthetic reasons and also for therapeutic reasons. Do you go to the salon to do your makeup, or do you do makeup for aesthetics or therapy? They invented that.
Wow.
Okay, so we're talking about Egypt. Now, the proverb today: the camel cannot see the bend in its own neck.
The camel cannot see the bend in its own neck. That's good. I think, first of all, Egypt is an amazing country. Surprisingly enough, Sudan also has quite a couple of pyramids.
Pyramids, yes, they do.
Yeah. But so for me, I think it's a question of how far you can see. I would interpret it to mean there's only so much you can see. You might have something existing within you. The camel, obviously, the bend is still within it, but the neck will have to... You have to flip around and see. The way I would interpret it is simple. There's only so much you can see, regardless of what you have. So you need hindsight. You need something else. You need, a better view. And I think just interpreting it to today where we are, I would also go back to being similar to how you cannot remove a speck. You're busy removing a speck in someone else's eye, and you cannot see the log in yours. So I would interpret it to mean that there's only so much you can see, that there's more existing within you that you might need help elsewhere.
Okay.
Wow. Interesting one. And as we get into this Justice Thursday conversation this morning, we're looking into who owns the idea. And I am sure that anybody who is a budding entrepreneur or has entered into the world of entrepreneurship previously has a story to tell. Dennis here also has a story to tell. I have a story to tell. There are people who have come up with fantastic ideas and have taken them to who would be the decision makers on the platform whereby they will want this idea to come to life. And, you're, in today's terms, ghosted. And then after some time, you find your idea to the letter is now on this particular arena, and you wonder what happened. And that is the world of startups. I'm looking at the statistics, and the startups that we have had come into place in the last 5 years is unbelievable. That everybody has a startup, but then who is protecting our ideas? And that's the conversation that we're having this morning. Can you really own the idea completely, 100%?
So I'm going to say yes and no.
Okay.
And just by starting with an introduction, what we do is, over and above the fact that I'm a lawyer, we do run an organization called Anza Village, an Afro Innovation Festival. And what we've done is build a community of a robust number of startup founders. We have more than 1,000 startup founders based in Kenya, but across Africa. We are very Pan-African. And the reason why that bringing that community together was important is because of just that. Everybody says, I have an amazing idea, but where do I start? How do I fundraise? How do I get to the market? I personally come from a privileged background, that I do come from a legal background, in tech particularly, and so it was something that I felt was needed I needed to impact to the young generation. And it came from one time I listened to a pitch and somebody said, we wanted to know more about, what exactly, can you tell us more about the device that you're talking about? And he said, I can only speak to you behind the scenes because I'm afraid you might take it away. And we had then to think, okay, this is a real issue. This is a real crisis. Now, when it comes to the kind of innovations that we have and the kind of amazing ideas we have come from a country that, we talk about, I'll use rumors and assertions of who owns the idea of M-Pesa and so many other things that come out. And we as Africans have one fortunate thing about our culture is we are a sharing community. We are sharing culture. And so we've not assumed that sharing sometimes is over and above the fact that you need to share, you need to think about how to commercialize it and all that. So commercialization and protection comes second nature. It has always been after the idea. Now, when I come back to what an idea is, I think I will use a simple terms of what Kenyans we do. We love buying land. So you can imagine me and Dennis have an idea of buying land together. And then I back out, but he continues to buy land. Have I owned that land? We had that conversation. Have I owned that land? So why I say the yes and no, this is where the no comes in. When we're generally speaking, it sounds like we're brainstorming until you put it into form. And this is a form. You could say that I have an idea of putting a music together that is going to sound a bantone. And it will be about, I don't know, let me use finance bill or anything else. So if I put it down and write the lyrics and perform it, then it becomes a song. You convert that idea into product. I have an idea of a medicine that will cure 5 different types of cancers with herb XYZ. When I put that into a prototype, or at least into an illustration, then I can come on board and say, now this is something. So the idea alone is not sufficient. It needs to be converted in a form that you own it. And that's why I will use copyright as a good example before I even delve into the types of intellectual property. That an idea of writing a book is, it doesn't give you copyright. It is a book itself. It is a song itself. It's a recording like today that makes it your invention that actually then gives you the certificate of copyright. And so you have to go that extra layer and say, I put it in a form, and then that form, then I can go ahead and protect it if it falls within the realms of protection. Right.
So let me, this topic has so many ranges.
Yeah.
In an example, let's say we are 4, 5 of us in a room. And so we are discussing about a device, a tracking device that's going to help children, for example. If they get lost, then you as a parent can go quickly to your mobile phone and find out where your child is. Now, if it's 5 of us having that discussion, I could be the one who suggests, by the way, what can we do? Because we are seeing so many cases of children disappearing and whatnot. How do we do it? Then you come in and say, oh, there's a video I watched, blah, blah, blah. We go through the video. Undu comes in and says, oh, I'm also thinking about... So we're all contributing to the idea.
Yes.
And going to your example of land. So we want to buy land, then you decide, okay, I'm not interested, and I continue. Whose idea is it? So in this context, when multiple people then are contributing to a product... then the product goes into development. How then do you determine who owns that product? In this conversation, the device for tracking children. Who is going to own it?
So there's something that we normally encourage doing, especially within the tech space. And it's a phenomenon that for the longest time we haven't done in Kenya. But if you look at startups from the Silicon Valley, they are very fast to do. So normally when you come together, you do something called you put together something called a founder's agreement. It's like a prenup that we are saying, me, Duke, and Dennis, we're going to get into this business of creating a device and all that. The right format has been that you put it clearly that this is the kind of invention that we're putting together. The idea will not be owned by individually us. It will be owned by the entity that we form together, right? And then that entity, you own shares to that entity. So you almost own a percentage of ownership for that. Now, we haven't done that for the longest time in Kenya. Most people, including lawyers, don't know what a founders agreement is and that it exists. Now, why that document is important, it comes way ahead of all these other legal things. It comes way ahead of actually converting that idea into a prototype. It comes way ahead of even registering a company. So it's a prenup of your idea. It's a prenup of what will be your invention, right? Even if, and a founders agreement doesn't have to be technical. It could be, you take a piece of sheet, a sheet of paper, let us put it down that we are going to set up a device that will do X, Y, Z, and that this is what we intend to do, and that it will be all co-owned by individuals. If you don't want it to be all co-owned by all of us, then you make it very clear that this is Dennis, this is your invention, and what I'm bringing to the table is funds, or what I'm bringing to the table is marketing or something else.
And do you have to put it down, document it?
Preferably. And why I say preferably is where in case of dispute, and this is now where the legal arms comes in. How then do you prove that we really had this conversation? We can't say verbally that we did, but for the longest time, because founders or written agreements have always pre-existed registration of the copyright, then it becomes an easier thing of no one owns it. I'll give a good twist. Back, I think in 2019 or 2018, there was a dispute between the founders, the people who brought in Lotto of Kenya, the lottery organization. And the biggest dispute was, I think at some point they even had to shut it down. I don't know whether they eventually sold it to different people, but the entire dispute was the two parties could no longer agree. And they had just done a joint venture without making it very clear, in case anything happens, was it you or I? Right? You know, and they skipped that step. Most of the time, we skip this step. We will go in and say, let's go put something together, and then we proceed. Normally, where now the law catches up with you or the finances catches up with you is because you skipped that step of saying, let's put it down in writing. If you can even show, it doesn't have to be, you know, that there was text messages that we were exchanging. Because actually, WhatsApp or text messages can actually form part of an agreement. If we can be able to prove that there was text messages, there was an email thread, there was, you know, a written paper, and we were having these minutes, there was minutes minuted, then that too suffices. It doesn't have to take the shape and form of your usual. That's why we talk about prenups can be written or contracts can be written in a napkin.
But what makes it then a legally binding document that can be evidence in future if there's a dispute? Is it the name, signatures, ID number, what sort of thing? Because you can narrate these ideas, say, okay, we all agree that this is what you're going to do, blah, 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 blah. But what then makes it legal or binding?
In a written document like this, it benefits when parties sign. However, where you can see there was conversation exchanges. Because I responded and say, this is good, can we also do this? And then this and that. Then that means that all parties were in agreement, even though they didn't come at the bottom. You can see the emails are between me, you, and Okoh, right? So it then forms the basis to which we say then that you actually did enter into an agreement.
Okay, there's a situation here, and the first time I was a victim to this was my first year in college. You are young, you're creative, you have all these brilliant ideas, and it was a commercial idea, an ad on TV. And so I shared this with a friend. I'm thinking of this idea. Why can't these people do this, and I said, oh, by the way, I have a relative who actually knows somebody who works in an agency that you can actually go pitch and you can make money from it. Then I do a meeting. So I'm in this boardroom. I'm doing a presentation. So I'm speaking to these guys and I'm telling them, guys, this is my idea. And I want to share this idea. And of course, I'm expecting at the end of the day, if they believe that the idea it can work, I'll get some form of payment. So what do they tell me after my presentation? Your presentation is really, really good. We'll get back to you in a week or two. We're going to share with our client, blah, blah, blah. 2 weeks, no call. 3 weeks, no call. A month, no call. But after around 3-4 months, I'm in Mombasa and I'm watching TV. Then I'm like, wait a minute. This is actually my script. And they only changed, let's say 80% was my idea. 20% is what was the extras. So I'm watching and I'm thinking, I think I'd shared this with somebody else. Then I'm thinking, wait, was somebody thinking like me? And at that point, I didn't know because this is many, many years ago, over 20 plus years ago. And I'm thinking, what could I have done? These guys must have taken my idea, made money from it, and I can't do anything. How many of those young people do you meet daily who then may be seeking investment or want to share the idea? They are called into boardroom meetings. They do PowerPoint presentations. They share their slides. But they don't know that in sharing, you're basically talking to somebody who can then take advantage of you. Absolutely. Because you're dealing with a company. Yeah. You're dealing with people with lawyers. Yeah. And this young person does not even earn at a bus fare, kurudi home. Yeah. I want to share my idea because I'm creative. Maybe they'll give me an opportunity. You found situations like that?
Oh my God, many. When I tell you, for instance, the case I listened to was our student telling us, because it came from a point of fear. The reason why I personally started this movement was because of how many people cried. And the worst case about law is that ignorance is no defense. So when you go to court, you cannot come and say, I didn't know how that you needed to do this. So the best thing we normally do is sensitize. And I wish I knew you then, because at least I would have.
I wish I even knew that disclosure from I was just excited about that.
But this is what I always say. Please, and I hope everyone listening takes this. Don't send physical copies. You know, my mom has this tendency of saying, even when you're going to give something to your friends and relatives back at home, don't give cash, send M-Pesa. At least it's proof that you give them something. Yeah? Yes. It's proof that you give them something. When it comes to sharing scripts, pitches, even though it's in a deck, please make sure that you send it via email.
So you have trail.
That this was shared in this state. Because I will now allow me introduce the form of IP protected through this is copyright. Right? And copyright is free. It is from the point you invent. It's from the point you compose. It's a form of composition. It's the same. We talk about, if you copy my book without referring to me, it's plagiarism. That's a form of infringement of copyright. We support a lot of young founders. Most of it between the ages of 18 to 28 or to 30. And they don't have this hindsight. They're coming from school or in school with an amazing burning idea at this point in time. Very excited like you are, ready to rock the world, believing that honestly what I have is a potential unicorn. And then they will come and pitch one either in front of people. They will go to Expo with an amazing thing, or they will even go to corporate. The biggest loss we've had, especially with young people, has been within the corporate space, where you get into the boardroom and it's a power play. I don't have the power. I feel like I don't have the power to take you to court. You've clearly taken 80-90% of my idea. I do not have the power to take you to court. However, there are people who've done it and succeeded. I think the case of, please call me, is it the South African case? Yes. Guys have won millions of dollars. You know why? Because he had the audacity, or he had the hindsight of sharing that through email. He's won an entire case, and it's in millions.
Because it was his. Because
he has proof via email conversations that I shared this. That you may have twitched something, but you can clearly see that 90 or 80% of this
was mine.
And you could see the correspondence dating back 4 or 5 years ago. Right, so we started sensitizing and training and capacity building young people. These are young people in university. Anyone who feels that innovation is my forte, this is what I want to be. Entrepreneurship is my forte. We've started doing that, and that's why we built Answer Village and Afro Innovation Festival. Literally, it was meant for that. It's to relieve that pain, that pressure, and give that information back. And also remember that we have 2 amazing agencies that work around IP in Kenya. We have the Kenya Copyright Board, we have the Kenya Industrial Property Institute. But government is government. They don't come to speak to the innovators.
But they say they do.
They do. They claim they do, but they don't. I think the one that I've seen trying is the Kenya Copyright Board. I've seen there, with their roadshows. But majority of the innovations that you're talking about exist within patterns that you're forming. Just because you're creating a device, creating some type of medicine and all that. And the number of times people come to me and ask me, where do I start? Who is Kipi? There are many. So actually, I did a step further, and I did a book, and you can check it out online. It's called The Innovator's Guidebook to IP Protection in Kenya. It is free. We made it free. It is online. Just download a book. It's very nice, easy on the eyes. I wish I carried a copy. I would have shared with you for an innovator to have. But even online, just checking it, it was feeling that far cry, because I was also one like you with amazing ideas that I want to do this, and lucky enough I knew my benefit, I knew my rights, right? And I want the next generation, because the next generation of entrepreneurs really are the innovators.
Indeed.
And they're the young people.
All right, let's take a break at this point. Wageshi Wahome is a law tech expert, and we're looking into who owns the idea, how you can actually protect it, startups, innovations, and intellectual property. When we come back from the break, let's go into that step by step. I have this idea. What then am I supposed to do to ensure that somebody doesn't run away with it?
Absolutely.
And then how can you operate in a space whereby they actually hire you, but they've taken your idea and it's theirs? What do you do and how do you operate? Let's do that when we come back from this break. And that's our Justice Thursday conversation with Wageshi Wahome. See you on the other side of this break.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you have the charm, the confidence, and the charisma to steal hearts? The Hello Mr. Right auditions are here. Join us live at the Kenya National Theatre, Saturday 9th and Sunday 10th August from 8 a.m. We're looking for bold, authentic male and female personalities ready to shine on Kenya's biggest matchmaking show. If you're 18 and above, bring your A game, your smile, and your confidence. It could be your time to find love. And while you're at it, renew your StarTime subscription today and stand a chance to get upgraded to the next bouquet absolutely free. The all-new season of Hello Mr. Right is coming soon. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is no...
They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
And we continue our conversation this morning, and we're in the room with Wageshi Wahome, who is a law tech expert, and we're looking into startups and the idea and whether you actually do own it. And she says, well, if it's your idea, it's in your head, and once it actually comes to life, when you apply certain things to it, it is your idea, and that you should put it down on paper. People that you had conversations with, send an email so there's a digital trail. So when we want to come back into this conversation is walk through the process. I have an idea, and maybe I want to make star-shaped chips because it's easier to eat for kids, whatever. And this actually comes out to be a good thing. What should I do, and how do I go about it step by step?
All right. So allow me to do a quick 2-3 minutes of training about the different forms of intellectual property. So I will start with the one that most people know, and it's also the easiest to get and register. That's what I've been talking about, is copyright. Copyright is protected through the Kenya Copyright Board. Copyright exists whether you have an idea of a book, whether you have an idea of a video, music and all that, and you've put it down, right? It's now for the creatives. And it exists at the point of invention, at the point of composition, not the point of registration. So it's the only type of IP that you do not need to register to own. Meaning, if you go to YouTube and say, I can go and claim that this was my music and have your music taken down, that's why you're finding a lot of YouTube disputes. Now, if you're protecting, including those who are doing software apps, can also protect it through copyright. Now, the good thing about copyright now is it's also the cheapest. With the Kenya Copyright Board has opened a portal. It's an online portal. You register and you register your idea, you register your music, you register your catalog, and you can do so for free today. And if you need to expedite it, they've also allowed you to expedite at an additional fee. And I think they removed these fees around COVID just to try and promote more of this. Then we have what most people call patents. Patents could be anything new and novel, but also industrially applicable. Could be medicine like Panadol. It could be a device like a car. It could be your phone has like 200 plus patents. Could be the motherboard, the chip, all these things. Anything that you're inventing that is new, you register it as patent. It's also the most expensive, but it gives you 20-year protection plus. What we call a lesser patent is a utility model. If it didn't fully qualify to being fully a patent, it could be a lesser patent. A good example is our Jiko. Our Jiko was registered as a patent many, many years ago, but it's long expired. But utility model are 10 years, patents are 20 years. That's why you see medicine like Panadol, almost towards the end, they add Panadol extra because they need to add something extra to give them additional level of protection.
It's not because it works better than the original one?
You also have to maintain that, the exclusivity. Because during this period of time, you have the exclusivity. You will disclose to the world that this is the recipe, but you want to make sure that nobody, despite the fact that you've disclosed, that they cannot use it. So now they have to add that extra before the end of the 20 years to give you Panadol extra.
That's interesting. You remember we grew up with Omo.
Yep. Yeah.
Then it moved from Omo to Omo with Powerform.
Yes.
You have
then Omo with Powerform Plus.
Yeah.
Fuel with power.
So all this is because you want to...
You want to extend your patent, but at the same time, there's also something we call brand extension. It's how you can convert something, for instance, you have sunlight, bar soap and all that. So that's a different form of commercializing. So there's protection, but how then do you make money out of it? You can make many products from it. Then now, anyone who is running a business, and this one I always insist needs to register a trademark. You see that logo you're doing? The name, Situation Room, SpiceFM. That name is a trademark or a potential trademark. That logo is a potential trademark if you protect it. Why? Because it will stop other people from using it. I'll give a good example of a startup that successfully did it called Bupas. Bupas set up in 2017, did the bold idea and went and registered a trademark. Then Kenyans do what Kenyans do. Come in, copy, create my own. So Bus comes in and almost sounds similar. The branding is similar. So Bupas, luckily enough, went to court. They got awards. I think as of last year, they got a 10 million shillings award. And you spend about 100K maximum to register a trademark. But after years, you get in, damages and all that. So they got 10 million. They awarded them 10 million.
It cost 100,000 to secure a trademark?
Up to 100,000 because it will also include legal fees, statutory fees and all that. But it gives you protection for 10 years. Every 10 years you need to renew. That way you protect that brand. So when you see a Remis, maybe the company behind a Remis is not a Remis. When you see Bidco, Bidco oil has changed hands how many times? It's owned by Unilever, then it's owned by another agency. But the brand Bidco remains Bidco, right? Because you've protected that trademark. The brand Coca-Cola remains Coca-Cola. The brand Red Bull remains Red Bull. That's why you see iterations like Deadpool and you're able to take them out. So when you see counterfeit, one of the things that you're able to identify, this is not a Samsung because it's a Samsung. That's a trademark infringement. And we need to be able to move to that
Can you
point.
also trademark colors?
We used to. The last, I think, company that was able to trademark colors was Safaricom, the Safaricom Green. But I think Kipi has since removed it. But in certain jurisdictions, you could.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So then what do you do to ensure that you have? Because when we talk about patenting and copyright and things like that, what particular documentation or is there one place where you go and everything is sorted out for you?
Yeah.
Because folks are sitting here saying, okay, I know how you know. I know this thing is going to be big. How do you make sure that it's protected?
Right. So the first thing I always say is, especially if you're moving towards the route of of patents, is create a prototype. Once you create a prototype, you can walk to KIPI offices. That's the Kenya Industrial Property Institute. They also have a website online. You can go to their offices. Occasionally, every so often, they're willing and able to support. Sometimes not to, again, they will tell you we're busy and all that, but they're able to support. But there's only one regulator that regulates at least 80% to 90% of the IPs. That's the Kenya Industrial Property Institute. And they have the forms. Every type of IP has a form. From the application, if you're doing a patent, you have to do patent description. It's most rigorous. It takes people up to 2 years to get a patent.
Wow.
Yeah. Ordinarily, and it's not a Kenyan, globally.
And you pay for it?
It's expensive.
It's expensive to...
But the most expensive thing about patents is getting somebody to draft that patent for you. But then this is what I always say. The first thing you can do is go and file an application. If you file an application where there's an error, they'll come back and tell you, oh, you haven't done this. Right? It can be a rigorous process because unlike many jurisdictions, and it pains me because Kenya, we are a tech society, and so even our regulators should allow for this, but some of it we have to do it manually. In other jurisdictions, you file online. In the US, you're filing the same day and you're getting confirmation whether your application is ready or not. So what you do is you need to file an application. Go and say, this is the kind of patent that I want to create. I'm coming up with a medicine that is from XYZ, because again, medicine can also be, or I'm coming up with a device that will do, sensation, it will test fertilizer or the quality of soil. And then once you go to them and you file this, they will tell you, these are the necessary documentations. If you're not able to always encourage people, now, most of the people who come to me, I send them to that book because we've done a book that illustrates the different steps from filing to the disclosure. It goes through examination. It's, again, as mentioned, it's very
So for examination is figuring out whether somebody else is actually something similar.
Yes.
But before you even get there, you've already made payments.
Yes. You make the initial payments of application and the search.
How much are we talking about here?
The cost you're paying to government are not much. You're paying, by that stage, you'll have spent less than 20,000. Yeah. But by the time you're done, especially for a patent, you'll probably have spent minimum of 200,000. Minimum.
Okay, so when you do that, looking at when you get through that process and you in that 2 years where you spent that amount of money, what does this then guarantee you once you have the patent?
Exclusivity.
Okay.
Now, you don't have to wait for your 2 years to go to the market. What I say is, and this is what the dangers of patents are, the moment you disclose and it's in the public, anyone can replicate, right? And so you lose your chances of patenting, right? Because then it becomes open source. But what we will say is, if you have a prototype, the first thing you do is go and file an application. That application will guarantee you that anyone else who comes to file after you, because it's first come, first serve, right? Anyone else who comes to file after you does not get that. And two, when it goes through examination, it will show that you had already filed for that application.
Okay.
During this period, you can operate under patent pending. However, now once you get that, it gives you exclusivity, 20 years for a patent. No one else will use that method and all that. If you find that person having done that, then you can go to enforcement. You can take them to court. You can seek damages and all that. So we've seen scenarios where even for big corporates, instead of seeking damages, they've done a joint venture, all acquired. And over and above that, it allows you commercialize in other ways. You can license. I can decide I've made my device or I've made my medicine. I do not want to get into the manufacturing. So I'll sell it to you for 10 million. You go commercialize.
You can continue.
But how does China get away with a lot of this? Because I've seen products or devices even where you can clearly tell the original is this. You go check, they're the ones who actually came up with it.
Yeah.
But then you see a replica from China, just a small alteration.
Yeah.
How do they manage to get away with it? How can I, for example, take a copy of something that you've done, but I copy, let's say, 80%, but 20% I add something else, and I can claim it's mine?
You need to, each country has its own threshold. You need at minimum more than, you cannot have copied more than 30%.
Not more than 30%.
As in, there's a threshold to, now this is where I separate the words. We have something called invention and then innovation. Invention is completely new. That is where patents exist. Innovation is what else you can do over and above that. So it doesn't mean that because you made a medicine for bacteria, for this type of bacteria, you're the only one who can create. Somebody else can create near it, but not to the extent that is exactly that. So that is also one of the ways in which China does it. The second thing is, if there's something that we do not do as Africans, is reverse engineer. China reverses engineers. You see what I was telling you, Panadol, for the next, after 20 years, it lapses. Somebody else is planning ahead of it. By the 20th year, there's a medicine that is exactly like Panadol. So what happens with patents is, by the time a product is released to the market, remember the filing, I could have filed a patent in 2019 and been in prototype and gotten into business in 2025. A couple of years have lapsed. Now I'm in the market. But during that time, China, an innovator in China is looking at this and thinking, this would really, really work well, but I can modify XYZ. By the time you've gone on to hit the market and your patent has lapsed, they are now ready to launch. So at the lapse of the 20 years, remember it's now fair game. When you go to the chemist and you ask for Moxil, they'll ask you original or generic. The original is the original patent owner. The generic is anyone else who's replicated after the patent expired. So after a patent expires, it is now fair game.
The generic doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't carry the same value.
It actually could be the exact replica. But remember, the patent owner spent so much money. So that is why maybe the products are still costly. But also, no one else will be able to replicate that exact thing for that duration of time, for the 20 years. After the 20 years, it is fair game. I can go and create my own Amoxil.
Speaking of copyright, if I take you back and you give an example, for example, the Situation Room, it can be copyrighted. Can you copyright a name that already exists?
No. You can protect the name in the form that you appear. For instance, Daily Nation, I'll just use this as a good example, or just let's say Situation Room. Situation, that word exists. Room exists. So you'll have to disclaim when you're filing a trademark that you don't own the name Situation, you also don't own the name Room. But the way it's put together, Situation Room, nobody else should use it in that manner, right? With that logo and that's why you put in like the colors and all that. So nobody else will come in and create another Situation Room in this space, in the media space and all that, looking like this. You also protect in a certain class. So that you might find, if you didn't protect nicely, you might find Situation Room as a room for, alcohol and a club and all that. Other situations. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's look into one that has grabbed the world by storm, and that's in the issue of dupes. And so to find out then, especially in the cosmetic world, so if you create a dupe, what you've done is that, let's say of perfume.
Yeah.
What you've done is that you have taken the scent profile
of
an original invention, right? You have taken the DNA and you have gone to create something else, and that you've added other scent profiles. But the original DNA you have taken, so maybe you've gone and you've bought the original.
Yeah.
And then your scientists have gone, they've tested, they've been able to extract it.
Yeah.
Then you've gone on to produce it.
Yeah.
Does that go against copyright, patent, such things?
It does go against, I think for perfumes and all that, there's a different type of trademark that exists in other countries. Unfortunately, we don't have scent trademarks in Kenya. But I think that would also fall within the space of patents. Normally, what I'll also say is, what happens, especially within the food and cosmetic spaces, is they tend not to file them as patents or anything. They do trade secrets because the moment you disclose, it's easier to copy. However, any type of a dupe, especially if it's so close, falls under counterfeit. Counterfeit is a criminal offense. We have the Anti-Counterfeit Agency. Unlike the rest where we can talk about, damages that is civil in nature, counterfeiting by nature is criminal.
And counterfeiting doesn't necessarily mean that the product is fake. It just means that you have gone outside of the regulation.
Yes.
And you see this, actually one of the industries that suffered a great deal was the battery industry. We had factories that were manufacturing batteries in Kenya for your torches, your remote control and all that. The counterfeits that came, you will see same colors.
Yeah.
But only one name. It will change. Like let's think of Gucci. You replace I with Y.
Or you add M, Gumchi. Something like that.
Yeah. Right? Or Nike. Remove I. So it is NKE. But it's done in such a way that unless you really pay close attention, hiki tu ni brand niko nayo. It's a counterfeit.
But going back to that, in Kenya, if there's anyone who is so vigilant about counterfeiting, is the East African cables. I have seen them go with cops and the anti-counterfeit agency officers to go and pull them. So if they find you having, even in your own industrial spaces, that you have fake cables claiming to be East African cables, they will take it down.
They will
take it down because, again, it's a criminal offense. You should not, even for you, the assumption is, and you find a lot of people also in the counterfeit in the downtown areas, and sometimes also in the supermarkets, they will walk around and say, this Samsung is not an original Samsung. This Philips, I've also seen Philips also pays a lot of money to do enforcement. Now, that's now where we gone in, you've protected it, now you have to enforce and make sure no one else is doing it. So they pay a lot of money, and they find their officers moving around downtown, moving even in supermarkets. And you find there was a time, I think, a couple of supermarkets were spotlighted for carrying counterfeit goods. And they had to be pulled down from the shelves.
Okay, let's say you are an employee, you work for company X, YZ, and you go to your boss with an idea. And you're telling your boss, I have a perfect way of streamlining our systems, and this is how we can create efficiency. Can an employee sue the boss of the company for taking the idea if there is no agreement on any form of payment? Or can the employee go, patent the idea, copyright something, while still working under the company? Can you do that?
Now, I will go back to what agreement. When you're signing employment agreements, I think it's important that people read the fine lines.
The contract.
Most employment agreements says that whatever you're creating during the course of your employment belongs to the company. That's what happens in most contracts. And so it would be assumed that you're being paid to come in and innovate, unless it's really, really outside the realms of your space. For instance, if I'm employed as a lawyer, then I've decided to invent a device for listening and all that. It's completely different from what my usual day-to-day employment is. So what happens, and this is we've been pushing, especially with Afro Innovation Festival, to get more corporates to own up to the fact that innovation exists. Even we have entrepreneurship. Normally we talk about entrepreneurship, but you also have entrepreneurship, right? If you look at Google, Amazon, they have the 80-20 principle. The 80-20 principle means during your time, if you invent, we can own the idea 80% and we'll give you 20%, which also relates to the royalties. AWS, the Amazon Web Service, was created that way because an employee came, said, I have this idea, I would want us to do it together, but we co-own. I would like to own some shares, then the company owns shares. If that policy does not exist, and this is now what we're talking about, we have to start opening up and saying we need policies that allow for innovation within the workspaces. If that policy does not exist, then it does not allow for that, and you as an employee could be, you could be losing your idea. Now, the other thing is also the employer could also be losing good ideas. So most people do it, but they do it behind the scenes, and then they would go on and innovate outside. a case existed between KRA, actually the ITAX. The assumption of the ITAX was a dispute with the employee and the employer, because the employer had come with it. Then it was termed different, with an invention, and said, I think there's a way in which we can be able to collect information and do XYZ. And that was taken up. It's like, I would want compensation, ownership, and all that. And then the employer said that, again, this is in the course of business. So they went to court. Of course, the court did indicate that there was no policy or agreement beforehand, and as such, the invention obviously would then go to the employer. But this is spurring conversations, especially the Gen Z. People are young, they're innovative, they want to work, but they have ideas. So it's either we benefit. We come in and say we're either owning this 50-50 or we're not. I am a product of innovating within my workplace. And I had to go in and sit with my employer and say, listen, there are two ways I can do it behind the scenes, but I would want us to do it together because it's within this space. And we had to agree on a percentage. The employer is happy to foot the bill on what it means to build a brand, and I'm doing the work, and the money will come in. So we're seeing more and more of this. We've been training corporates on how to do the corporate innovation. I need to give spotlight to where it's due. I think I've seen Britam make that effort of opening up the doors for innovation. I've seen DTB Bank do the same. Safaricom has for the longest time done it. And we want to see more and more. I think also Davis and Shatleaf, this is something also I have noticed, and because they invited me in one of their hackathons, that they organized a hackathon or around the problems that they exist. And whoever wants it gets paid and gets a percentage of it. And it's opening up. But at the moment, Dennis, I will say, at the end of the day, you need to go back to your contract and then pull that contract, sit down with your employer and say, I would like to renegotiate. Before you come in and tell the idea, please do, before you give another advertisement idea, go back and say, I would like to renegotiate that I have this, but I would like it clear before I give it to you what these terms of engagement would look like.
Are we getting into a space where folks are more and more aware of these things and how they need to happen?
Yeah.
And I mean, you said that, yes, there are some organizations now that are very keen and aware and making sure that people are protected. But would you say that the profile is rising now in terms of what people know they need to do when it is getting into a startup or, an innovation?
Yeah, I think it's getting better. It's not where we were. We started this effort back in 2019, and my God, it was an uphill battle because we had to teach the very basics. We didn't even have anywhere we can refer them to reading. Luckily enough, we have gotten the support of people who are doing this, but over and above us, there's a lot of conversations. Kenya is leading in Africa when it comes to investments, especially within the startup space. And we're leading despite the fact that we don't have as much money as some of the countries that we work with, right? And the reason, when we see these numbers, they spark conversations within our minds, and this, they make us dreamers, and they make the ones who are losing hope think, actually, this is something. We've also seen a lot of people going out there and doing a lot of capacity building. One of the reasons why we started the Afro Innovation Festival was for two things. Was one, to celebrate. The festival bit was celebrating innovations the African way. And the way we do it is telling people that there's so many problems in Africa, to be honest, which means there's so many opportunities. Where there's a problem, there's a solution. When PayPal back in 2000 was convincing you to get a bank account, an internet, and an email, M-Pesa realized you don't need a bank account, internet, an email to transact money. Why? Because that was, we didn't have that luxury. And so M-Pesa right now is trading more than PayPal by far. And so we are getting more and more. We're getting more and more. And the good thing is also we also have a very young, educated youth. These people are willing and able. We have been able to converge them with Afro Innovation Festival, with Anza Village, with other stakeholders, with universities, to be able to talk to them. It's interesting, actually, when you say this, because I did a segment, we did a hackathon 3 months ago, and we did not intend to have young people. We ended up having 9 and 10-year-olds coming on board. And actually, over the span of the 72 hours, created a carbon converter kit I was puzzled. In this,
there are schools today
Yeah.
where there are 10-year-olds and even below who are already studying coding.
Yeah.
Getting into,
Yeah, and those are the people now that we're getting into those conversations and telling them it's one thing to innovate, but you have to protect and then you have to commercialize.
To secure your future.
To secure your future.
Definitely a refreshing conversation, and also to then be able to learn a lot of these things. You can actually protect it and preserve it for the future. Wangechi Wahome, law tech expert, has been our guest this hour. Who owns the idea? You do, and you can actually protect it going into the future. Thanks for joining us on Justice Thursday for this conversation. Thank you for making the Situation Room part of your morning, as you normally do. Let's talk again tomorrow. God willing, take care and have a good day. It's 10 o'clock.
All right.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. President William Ruto is set to meet representatives of tea farmers from 56 KDA factories